Long ago in a distant land. Wait, wrong show. Enter at your own peril. Past the vaulted doors where impossible things may happen that the world's never seen before.
In Dexter's laboratory. That's right, folks. It's been 30 years
Heck yeah.
since it's been 30 years since Dexter's Lab first premiered on Cartoon Network in any form, and we felt it appropriate to celebrate this, especially since serendipitously, I got my hands on the series, and I kind of at the beginning, Jacob kind of on the track of rewatching some of the Dexter's Lab episodes. Just kind of felt appropriate that we're talking about Dexter so much. Let's actually do it proper.
And we've been bringing up quite a bit recently. So, and with the anniversary 30th year coming up, it's only fair. I mean, I think about it. The show is historic in a lot of ways, considering it's like Cartoon Network's first original series, not like based on pre-established characters.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I'm sure you'll get into that in the background, but
Well, yeah, but that's the thing. So, like this day, folks. I mean, this very day, 30 years ago, is the first time anyone saw Dexter's Lab in any way, shape, or form.
and I'm sure Cartoon Network was around by this point, but at this point, the true Cartoon Network original was born.
Very true.
Brought to you by none other than and the extraordinaire himself, Genndy Tartakovsky.
Genndy Tartakovsky.
Yes. All right.
So I guess just with Dexter's Lab, just kind of wax some kind of poetic about our nostalgia on the matter. Dexter's Lab, definitive cartoon that launched Cartoon Network. It was the proper introduction to Genndy Tartakovsky and his style, and he and again the fact that he and his crew, they really did. Ultimately, what they do with Dexter is, I think, is very appropriate as a transition point, as the beginnings of Cartoon Network. Is that these guys came from the Hanna Barbera school of animation. Essentially, they worked for Hanna Barbera, and these are Cal Arts guys. They went to Hanna Barbera, which obviously was it's kind of a limited studio, but in the '90s was kind of going through a kind of a transformation, and that basically kind of led to the birth of the Cartoon Network. And the way they did that was they did an update and a refinement of the Hanna Barbera style, which gave us essentially, gave us '90s kids, the new standard for the classic cartoon. I mean, that's the thing. We look back at this the way people look back to Looney Tunes in many respects.
In some ways, the Flintstones, speaking of Hanna Barbera.
That's probably the better comparison, but yes, absolutely, it's very much the Flintstones for our era, and it's very appropriate that the Flintstones often at times cameo in Dexter's Lab.
I mean, the thing is, a lot of that was like the result of like Ted Turner like getting all the Hanna Barbera stuff, and then that being folded into Warner Brothers.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot
So,
of bunch of complicated legal jargon.
yeah, so the point with the show, the art style has always been pleasing. It's kind of retro. It's so adaptable in that it can fit any genre, which just makes it so wonderfully malleable. It's basically the best way I can describe Dexter's Lab, especially so basically, folks, is I was there. We were pretty much there from the beginning with Dexter's Lab, and it was always just a highlight when it would come on, and just the programming blocks and the reruns. But recently I got the complete series. Thankfully, again, this not every show is, especially the Cartoon Network shows, are not as lucky as Dexter recently, because very recently got the last year it got the complete series release, which does in fact have everything. Probably not in the right order, but it does have everything.
Yeah.
And that's hey, look, I'll take that as long as everything is there, which everything but rude removal is there. Anyway, so point being, just rewatching through it, man, I tell you, it is such a joy because Dexter's Lab, it's candy. The show itself is like candy for the gadget fan in me, and it's incredibly funny. It's a cartoon of the highest art form,
And it's amazing how much of it holds up even to this day.
yeah, that's the thing. It holds up, and even then, it was the show that very much like told everyone to step up their game. It was like it's like the animation arms race. It was,
basically showed the world what Cartoon Network could do.
absolutely. When I rewatch this thing, I guess I have pure joy and nostalgia. Just rewatching it, even just thinking about it, and it was ingrained in the lexicon. I mean, I know the kids of today, they're probably like Dexter, what? But again, to our generation, just Did you get to my laboratory? It's classic.
Laboratory.
Yep. So again, just Dexter's Lab is the perennial, just classic, the Flintstones for the '90s generation. I'd like to think of it.
Which is it's just kind of funny considering it's like the complete opposite of the Flintstones.
Well, yes.
Like in
Well,
terms of,
I said of the '90s.
I know, but like I mean, like whereas the Flintstones obviously is the Stone Ages, this is more like this is obviously all scientific.
Oh yeah.
Like, and think about it, without this show, a lot of the modern cartoons wouldn't exist.
Oh yeah, it's very heady when you think about it. Because literally, this spawns. We'll get into the background. This spawns so much.
We will get into that then, maybe in this one or something future that we might have planned.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like so many names that went on to like define their own niche, their own corner of animation history, worked on this show.
Mm-hmm.
Several big ones.
Many storied names.
Oh yeah.
From the story department.
Oh yeah. We'll get into that down the line. So Dragon, what do you want from me?
I mean, do you have anything, any nostalgia you want to just kind of throw in there, or just kind of like you kind of got that in already? You think?
Well, the thing is, like, this show literally came out like if it came out in like 1995, it came out just a couple months after I was born.
Oh, still around in reruns,
I know, but I did catch the reruns as I was growing up, and I don't. There were like some segments I remembered throughout the years, but I never really. And I did remember enjoying them. I always kind of liked the art style and all that. And of course I always remembered Dexter's accent, Mandark's laugh. Everyone remembers those. Like ah ha 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 ha. Like the laugh that haunts your nightmares. Not in a terrifying way, but like, oh God, please make it stop. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
So like cartoon. I mean, the funny thing is, when I was growing up, Dexter's Lab wasn't one of my go-tos. Wasn't one of my go-to Cartoon Network shows. I mean, if anything was probably, if we're talking about the same era, it'd probably be more the Powerpuff Girls. Funnily enough, I love Powerpuff Girls.
Would you love the idea that we could have had there was a point in time in which we could have like a block of television that would be Dexter followed by Powerpuff Girls.
Yep, and I'm sure you get into the background, but we technically could have almost had Powerpuff Girls first.
That is very true.
So yeah. But over the years, I mean, I have definitely grown an appreciation for Dexter. I probably still wouldn't rank it amongst the highest with Cartoon Network shows because I've only watched a few select ones recently. But I gotta say, like I said, as I told Dragon, it still holds up to this day. Like a lot of the humor and jokes. And the funny thing is, it is a product of the '90s, but it doesn't feel dated. Funnily enough.
I mean, that's the thing. I mean, you look at some of the great '90s shows. A lot of them are kind of in this vacuum, or even just looking back on it, they're kind of time proof in the sense of you could look at them with kind of a grain or like an old or kind of an age to them. Like Batman the Animated Series, it feels like it's from, because it is that hybrid of like a little bit of '90s, but mostly it's kind of like an unspecified 1940s setting.
I mean, they basically say like, what if Fleischer made Batman?
Exactly. So with that show will always have kind of an aged quality to it. And you could say the same about Dexter's Lab because of the retro style to the whole world. It feels like something that it's kind of, in a sense, it's kind of a hybrid of kind of '90s, but with kind of like that 50s, '60s, just kind of like vibrancy to it.
And somehow it still feels kind of fresh.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. The humor's on point. Again, one of the reasons Freakazoid holds up.
And a lot of it's not like based in like topical humor or anything like that, which kind of makes it, if you can tell it was made in the '90s, but you can still enjoy it at any time, considering like you don't really need to. You get what I'm trying to say.
I get what you're trying to say. Yes.
All right. So I guess you can go into the background now then.
Okay, so believe me, there's a lot of rabbit holes I can go down. But we might be saving that for future projects. So I'm just going to keep it direct. So here's what gets us Dexter's Lab. So Genndy Tartakovsky, long story short, he had a very interesting he had the immigrant's journey to animation, very much the American dream in the best of sense. So he befriended fellow animators at CalArts, and they went on to the show Two Stupid Dogs. So Two Stupid Dogs is very much kind of the prototype for the Cartoon Network show. That's a Hanna-Barbera production, but a 90s Hanna-Barbera production.
And if I remember correctly, Genndy wasn't actually that skilled in art at first, but they were impressed by his like scrapbooks and stuff like that. Like
Oh, yeah.
they're impressed by his like tenacity, and that's why he got accepted into CalArts.
Exactly. So like they saw his they saw his work, and they saw this guy really he really wants this. Like this is the kind of spirit you want. You want a guy who's going to work at it versus rest on his laurels. He can draw. He can go to any company, kind of a thing.
And but let's just say apparently that wager paid off.
Oh yeah. So basically, Cartoon Network, Cartoon Network had entered into what I like to call the animation arms race. Where Nickelodeon very much lit the charge of the creator-driven programming in the '90s, and Cartoon Network was kind of chasing that. And, Ted Turner kind of created the opening with the whole, like we have the Hanna-Barbera library that's pretty much just kind of like having the properties and then kind of getting a little experimental with it, but pretty much just kind of in the machine.
Well,
Where
the idea Ted Turner had was like to create a channel dedicated entirely to cartoons.
yeah,
Instead of just like, because Nickelodeon now obviously had cartoons, but they also had live action programming.
yeah. So again, solely featuring cartoons, which later decades would challenge, but let's not dwell on that.
Yeah,
Uh,
not even Cartoon Network wants to acknowledge that one.
no, they don't. Anyway, so point being, this is the beginning of that, very much trying to rival Nickelodeon, which basically launched in I want to say '93 with that. That's when we had the that's when we have kind of our trio premiering. We got Rugrats, we got Doug, and we got Ren and Stimpy.
Yep.
Of course, skyrocket them to fame. So roughly in like basically the ruminating and kind of in the planning stage of this in like '94, I want to say it's when at least things are well. Things are kind of in planning in '94, and animation takes time. I think that's when things are getting together. Anyway, the point being, '95 is when things happen. So they're looking to rival Nickelodeon, and they basically have the What a Cartoon, which essentially is a program that's designed to basically present all the pilots they could get from kind of the animation hopefuls of CalArts and here and there, and then basically kind of like throw it in front of the kids, see what they respond to, see what the network executives respond to, and whatever gets the most buzz, will be on the track to become a series. So, Genndy essentially got the call, like, hey, you want to participate in this? So he submitted essentially a refined version of his CalArts short film from '94, Changes, which is essentially the pilot of Dexter. Now, essentially, it all came together with Tartakovsky was just kind of toying around in the sketchbook, and he sketched a ballerina, and he had this girl ballerina, and he figured, well, she needs a foil, and that created, okay, let's give her like a square, kind of a more straight laced, just kind of square child. And then it was like, okay, well, they're siblings, and then it just kind of went from there. Just the comedy just kind of like filled in there, like, okay, so he's a little scientist, and then ultimately it's basically the science and the arts. Boys about science, girls about the arts. It's kind of like representative Genndy's childhood, but we'll get into that in a sec. Point being, tested very well. It kind of continually got refined, and honestly, what really sold him was less the concept. It was more just the execution. What Tartakovsky does best is timing and execution, which and seeing that working in tandem, that led to his big break. Like, we love the show, we're going to give it to you. And he was like one of the youngest. I don't know if he still holds the record for this or not, but like one of the youngest showrunners ever. In which he's a 27-year-old graduate of CalArts. And his betters, and his, I guess his colleagues, they were also so there were 16 shorts in What a Cartoon, and of those shorts, you had just to give you the ones that had the biggest success rate. They're definitely on the, let's call it the partner track in legal terms here. You get Dexter's Lab, you get Powerpuff Girls, which clearly impressed. Clearly was a similar vibe we were going for.
Yep. Which you'll probably get into that history with Dexter's Lab soon.
A little bit, yeah. Johnny Bravo, Cow and Chicken, and Courage Cowardly Dog. These were all kind of submitted here, and a lot of them were, again, ultimately they were kind of left to boil, but eventually they would flourish.
Oh yeah.
All right, so with it, so he's 27. This guy's a hard worker. He decided, okay, this is like the biggest chance I'm ever going to get. He threw everything into his work, caused him some relationships along the way. But again, and he wasn't the only one throwing himself into this work. He also had he pretty much brought all his Cal Arts buddies onto the project with him, and this really built their careers. And they spun off from there. And one of his top lieutenant, the number two in the organization, you can tell by how often his name shows up, Craig McCracken,
Oh,
who of course went on to do the Powerpuff Girls.
Which, as I mentioned before, almost like basically the Water cartoon was like almost a competition to see which series would get turned in, which of the shorts would get turned into a full series. And they were able to vote. Like the show Kids Next Door later codenamed Kids Next Door later came to be into existence the same way. But like it was a close call, but Powerpuff Girls was close, but the viewers ultimately chose Dexter to be the series first.
Yep.
Yep.
It's a great constellation prize from McCracken, though. Of like, well, you didn't get it, but hey, you get to work with your pal Genndy on his new show.
And it's consolation, not constellation.
Really?
Yes, it's consolation.
No, I know that. But really going to correct me on that now, but
sorry.
Okay. Yes, but yes, consolation.
But yeah, so yep, we do get. I think in some alternate universe, the Powerpuff Girls came first.
It's a heady multiverse.
Yes, but so yep, Dexter was chosen, and Craig and a lot of other people, as we'll get to, got to work on this show. And eventually, and at the same time, Genndy also worked on the Powerpuff Girls too. He directed a lot of the episodes of Powerpuff Girls.
One hand washes the other. I guess one hand draws the other.
Yep.
So they infuse a lot of the classic Hanna-Barbera into the style, which of course gives us some fun cameos from past Hanna-Barbera properties here and there. We had great composers worked on this. So we had Steve Rucker was like the lead guy. He did Dexter, Powerpuff Girls, and Kids Next Door.
I thought James L. Venable did.
No, James Venable. No, James. Well, okay. I'm sorry. Well, here's the thing, Jacob. So I was about to mention for this, a lot of shows have multiple composers. You have a lead composer. So James Venable, I believe, was the lead composer for Powerpuff Girls. Like, for example, here, Steve Rucker was the lead composer. Like Shirley Walker and Batman the Animator, she didn't solo score all. Like, she oversaw them presumably, but she, it was her. And then you had guys like, we have basically guys going to Justice League. We have Mike McQuest should be my favorite, a bunch of second to Shirley Walker, and then you have you have Lolita Romanis and Craig Carter. It's Chris Carter, not Craig Carter. Chris Carter.
Yeah.
Anyway, the point being for this, you had Steve Rucker, who again was one of the composers in Powerpuff Girls. Thomas Chase. I'm not super familiar with the last one though. Gary Leonelli. This guy scored O.J. Made in America, which is an excellent score.
Nice.
Anyway. Let's see. So, we have just to highlight real quick our crew, which let's say down the line we might explore further.
As I mentioned, Craig McCracken.
Craig McCracken is the number two. Make it, the number one for Genndy, but number two in the whole, make it so number one. We got him. We got Rob Renzetti, who's Gendy's pal.
And he went on to he does a lot of behind the scenes stuff, but also created My Life as a Teenage Robot.
Oh yeah, Paul Rudish, who basically turned him on to the job, if memory serves.
Yeah, and Paul Rudish went on to he's worked for a lot of other Genndy's other show like Samurai Jack and and I think he co-created Symbiotic Titan with him.
Oh, and that's true.
And also worked on the new Mickey Mouse shorts.
Yes. So then, of course, some other no names like Butch Hartman and Seth MacFarlane.
Yep. Yep. They made some names for themselves.
Yeah, and again, we also have Rumen Petkoff and John. I think it's McIntyre. Yeah, McIntyre.
And there a lot of names touched this show, and they went on to carve their own niches in the animation world.
Including, I just want to shout them out. We had some Pixar. We had some early Pixar talent on this as well. We had Teddy Newton and Lou Romano.
Yep.
All right.
Who still were who I think also worked on the new Samurai Jack and Primal as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. That would not surprise me if they're working on Primal.
I know Lou Romano did. I'm not sure about Teddy Newton. I think he went to. I think he's at helping on Ray Gun, if I remember.
No, that makes sense because Teddy Newton's he's very ingrained with Brad Bird, so he would probably he'd probably go with him on that. Anyway, so long story short, show very well received. Went for Genndy. We'll get into the specifics a little later, but let's just say Genndy he did essentially 2 seasons. They threw his heart and soul into, and the movie. And then he moved on to Samurai Jack and Clone Wars, which then allowed, Chris Savino, who we're not going to lean a lot into because there's kind of a decline in quality, but he kind of picked up the ball for a revival and, well, mixed results. But let's not dwell on that right now.
But he did work on the show before the revival.
I know he did, but it's kind of, that's the thing with Savino is that that's the black mark. That's in terms of his professionally with his animations, that's the black mark on the record. Everything else we're not going to dwell on, but yes.
Yep. So, but yeah, and obviously those people went on to create shows of their own, which then people worked on those shows, created shows of their own, and et cetera, et cetera. So it's basically Dexter created a domino effect.
Yep. The most awesome domino in the shape of a lab name that it makes no sense why he would put a sign on his own lab, but it's just cool.
Yep, and why his own sign would say created by Genndy Tartakovsky in there, but but who knows? Dexter's an enigma.
Yep. All right.
In his laboratory.
So I guess in breaking Dexter down, the first thing we should talk about is we got to talk about the opening.
Yeah,
the Cartoon Network shows, especially, honestly, even just like this show, just itself, like Dexter and kind of the segments within the show, like for Justice Friends and Dial-In for Monkey, they have fantastic openings that perfectly summarize what the show is all about.
Yep. In the case of Dexter, no dialogue or song whatsoever.
Yeah, that's the thing. I love that it's like this operatic build-up to a cartoon. That just sets the tone of like what you're in for, where it's going to feel. Again, you want an opening. It's going to make, even if you know nothing about the show, it's going to give you like what the feel for the show is like that in the animated series.
And this, but begins with Dee just slowly walking down the hall. Peter trying to sneak into Dexter's lab.
Yeah. Anyway, of course, she's causing some chaos there. He's just trying to light up a sign. That's what his invention is. It's hard to work on it. So the point being, what we get away from this, so we have brother and our premise. We just nailed the premise here. Brother and sister, science versus the artist, which again parallels Genndy and his brother. Instead of breaking his stuff and pushing buttons, Genndy being the artist, being the deity in the relationship, he would take his brother's army men.
And funny enough, his brother became a scientist.
Yeah, so there again, that's where that comes from.
Yep.
So, in breaking down our siblings here, so starting with Dexter, title character. Again, a big principle for Genndy Tartakovsky was the geometric shape principle, which was taught to all the Cal artists, if you will. And it's just the fact that he's this perfect geometric shape that just is appealing. It's likable, and again, all this with Dexter. Dexter period, just not only the design and just the characterizations, that hugely aided by Christine Cavanaugh doing the voice.
Genndy this might be apocryphal or something I read, but Genndy even said half of what made the show work was her performance.
I agree though, because again, if your title character doesn't work, what are you doing?
I mean, and even he doesn't know what the accent is supposed to be.
That's what he says, but Cavanaugh, Candy Milo, she talked to, because so Christian Cavanaugh, she retired from the role at a certain point, and then was handed to Candy Milo.
Well, not only just from the role, but from voice acting in general.
Well, yes, from voice acting in general, but there's a lot of replacements for in other shows and stuff. But like Nancy, God, I keep getting my Simpsons actors a little mixed up.
Nancy Cartwright.
Yeah, see, I had Nancy. I was going to say Kravner, but that's Marge. So anyway,
and that's Julie Kavner anyway.
I know, that's why I was combining the names wrong. So it's yes, Jacob's still wrong. I get it.
I remember Nancy Cartwright also did Rufus.
Yes.
So
yeah. Anyway, she took on Chucky Finster from the Rugrats, and Candy Milo took on Dexter. And the point being, she was talking to Cavanaugh. she basically kind of like in conversation with her, she kind of determined that, and this it's not like 100% confirmed, but I'd like to think of it as being true. She basically realized, oh God, Christine, she did an impression. She did basically her own, the kind of her own impression of Genndy Tartakovsky as like an 8-year-old kid. So just the idea that it's basically the point being in the character period, there's a lot of Genndy infused into him. The accent, which basically is a Genndy impression mixed with the way Genndy is kind of approximated the accent. He said it's kind of like it's kind of a funny fake French accent. So it's kind of like Gendy's Russian accent mixed in with kind of a French of some sort.
I've actually listened to Genndy speak. He doesn't really have much of an accent.
Well, no, as a kid he did though. That's the difference. That's the thing. So as a kid, the accent was thicker.
Yeah, I kind of figured. But if you listen to him talk recently, you can't even tell.
Well, exactly. Yeah. Anyway, so then fundamentally,
yeah, go on.
And fundamentally, he basically was a kid growing up in the Midwest with an accent, trying to belong, and basically the way they kind of got interpreted Dexter is like, well, if you took that kid, and when it doesn't kind of fit in, he he does it himself. He basically if he's not welcome into the club, he's going to he's going to build it himself, or he's going to invent his way out of it. Like forget those guys, I'll do it on my own terms.
Or in other words, fine. I'll do it myself.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, Dexter always just, great design, just the idea he can build anything he needs. The boy genius thing we've seen done many a time, but Dexter very much, he broke the mold. And you ask me, as much as I love, I think the age-old question is like, who's going to win a fight, Dexter from Dexter's Lab or Jimmy Neutron? End of the day, though, I mean, come on. Dexter's got him 8 ways to Sunday because he has like cartoonishly unlimited resources. He can literally build anything, but he is limited by the imagination of a child, which is just hysterical.
Oh yeah.
All right, so Dee Dee, other side of the coin here, perfect cartoon foil designed to literally push her brother's buttons.
Ooh, what's this button do?
What does this button do?
And she doesn't have an accent.
No.
Well, she does, but she has an American accent.
Her accent is stupid. I'm not insulting her. It's literally what her accent is. Her accent is stupid.
Yes.
You are stupid.
It's not stupid. It's stupid.
Yep. Anyway. So the hat trick, here's the hat trick with Dee Dee, is that she's a fun character and a great character, but she's kind of like, but at the same time she's like kind of like the dim-witted kind of bullyish foil to her, and the way siblings are to each other, like a bully like that. And here's the thing, I love that even within that, she's not a malicious entity. She's not mean-spirited about it, but I gotta admit. That said, just being the gadget nut that I am, and just being on Dexter's side, I don't know if it's maybe like just deep down, it's just like watching it and just everything. It's like that childhood, like you're sympathizing with the boy character if you are a boy viewer. It does make you want. Like I had the kind of the thing with another Dee Dee, like no joke. I kind of have the thing rewatching it they have with the Rugrats with Dee Dee, where not as harshly, mind you, but I'm kind of cursing the screen a little bit, like, "Oh, Dee Dee, how dare you? That was a beautiful piece of machinery. Look what you did to it."
Are you talking about like with Angelica or whatever?
Well, no, I mean like Dee Dee Pickles.
Oh, Dee Dee Pickles.
Like literally Dee Dee Pickles from Rugrats. Here's the thing, no, Dee Dee Pickles.
You can tell how familiar I am with Rugrats.
Well, the point being, Dee Dee Pickles is the mom from Rugrats, and I find her very hypocritical. I just find her kind of again insulting in a way of just like when you look back on the show, you didn't notice it the first time. You look back on the show in like kind of like adulthood or so, and you look, man, Dee Dee's full of crap. just isn't infuriates you as a viewer, but like not in a really malicious way, but just make it screw Dee Dee. And on the flip side, you're to some extent not as harshly as Dee Dee from the Rugrats. Dee Dee from Dexter's Lab, spelled differently by the way.
Yeah.
From Dexter's Lab. It's just more of like I'm absolutely on Dexter's side, in which like why can't she let him have nice things? Like come on.
What did I do to you? As we see in like one of the last episodes.
God, I love it.
Yep. It's like
anyway.
She's never left him alone even since he was born.
I just love that the first button she pressed was his belly button.
Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. I'm not gonna sing opera, by the way.
There. So let's see. So I guess so. It's overall we've kind of mentioned kind of the art design, the aesthetic. But it's like I do. How do you feel about the design of the show? Period.
You mean just like the overall like animation style and all that?
Yeah, that and the backgrounds, the whole shebang. Like, what do you think?
It kind of like I mentioned earlier, it kind of lends itself to its timeless quality. Like I said, you can tell when it was made. You can definitely tell it was like hand drawn paper and all that. With maybe some digital. This is like before they switched to the digital stuff. But like I said, I think the art design really lends itself. Like it looks it really it makes it look believable. Like especially like with the backgrounds kind of makes like look, this is a lab I'd want to be in. Like this is like the lab of every kid's dreams.
Now, nothing against kind of basically our computer produced the digital cleanup, the digital ink and paint, kind of the cleanup animation that we've gotten like basically 2000 onward. Nothing against that, but I gotta say, man, it's like impossible to top, like cell animation. It's just really hard to really, just to beat it. Just like seeing like the cell and just there's something tactile there. It feels like it's almost like a, it's like feeling the grain.
Yes.
It's like feeling the grain with the eye. So I love this. I love in the design of the original Dexter's Lab here, which again, primarily we're focusing on here, folks. We'll cover the other stuff briefly, but primarily we're focusing on kind of Genndy's stuff. The architecture on Dexter's Lab, I love that it makes no sense whatsoever in the funniest way possible. If you ever think about like how the heck does that lab fit behind that bookcase in that house?
I think it's basically as I've mentioned before, it's like a cartoon in the finest sense of the word.
One could say, Jacob.
Yeah.
A response to like, how does Dexter's Lab even fit in that house?
It's not that simple.
Well, no, I was thinking about the other clip, Jacob.
What is it?
We don't care.
We don't care. I don't. Okay, I don't know. Let me see if I can pull. It's kind of we lost
we
it.
We don't care. We don't care.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yep.
But hey, mine worked too, though.
No, yours did. But I was just with the Cal Arts thing. I thought it was appropriate.
I don't know. I sorry.
Anyway, so let's talk something we constantly marvel at, and we're probably marveling at a lot here. Our top tier voice cast. So Christine Cavanaugh, clearly dearly missed, and just the iconic, an iconic kid voice with such range.
Welcome to my laboratory.
Welcome to my laboratory.
My greatest invention is completed.
Today was a fine day for science. So we could sit here doing this all day. And the point is, we can do that because she did such a great job providing a voice that would go down the tomes of history as like a very imitatable, like just fun, just the one of those fun kid accents you could have. And just the fact that the kid takes himself so seriously and he's so Napoleonic, and yet he takes himself so seriously Napoleonic. There's there's a sophistication, there's an intelligence, but we balance that out with the fact that he's a kid with kid priorities, and he can be so immature, and it can just be, it can be whiny. It's hilarious.
There's an entire episode dedicated to him trying to get ice cream.
Exactly, which is the brilliance. He's taking this so seriously, but again, such a kid priority. It's perfect.
And and of course, like the very roundabout with the very non-indirect ways he goes to solve some of his problems.
Oh yeah, but again, the ice cream episode, absolutely just the perfect.
Like Dragon, I know I mentioned this off air, but I'm going to say it for posterity while we're live. Like you remember, like you don't watch a show you watch a show when you're younger, you don't watch it for years, but you like remember like one segment or at least even like a moment from the show.
Oh yeah.
Like one of the moments I remembered from this show was the ending of the ice cream truck episode.
Just while we're highlighting voice actors, I mean Tom Kenny. Here's the thing: we have a silent ice cream man until that one scene. So Tom Kenny just comes in and he nails it. He nails like the foreign ice cream man.
That is like, it's like we're basically Dexter ordered the most expensive ice cream cone paid in pennies, and like they were like, do you know how long it took me to count that 5 hours and 30 minutes?
Precisely.
And then it's like he fell over, chipped a tooth. His girlfriend left him. He ended up homeless. I mean, you feel sad, but it's just like.
So here's the thing that cracks me up. Okay, the fact that he's homeless, he's still doing the same ice cream job.
Yeah. So it's like, but that's not the part I remembered. The part I remember is like, after all, I remember him paying with pennies. But then, like, he agreed to pay. He agreed to sell Dexter the ice cream, and Dexter even, like, went for the smaller ice cream cone or ice cream. It's like, do you have change for 100?
Just a Choco Pop.
Choco Pop. Like, do you have change for 100?
But also, it was great right there, the fact that he goes through all these. Tom Kenny has this amazing monologue. Okay,
Yeah,
he's got this stunning monologue at the end. You see like the veins in his neck. And Dexter's like, you're like, oh, well, I'm sorry. I'm really, really sorry.
And he's like, yeah, it's fine.
He brushes all of it past. There's this moment of catharsis.
And then he's like, do you have change for 100?
One of of course, people should know, Jacob and I would go on many tangents, and most often those tangents revolve around ice cream. So this episode, maybe it stems from this episode, maybe it doesn't. I don't know.
You have to admit the Choco Pop did look delicious, though.
Absolutely. I mean, the fact there's a Major Glory ice, that was the expensive ice cream, the Major Glory ice cream pop.
I know you'd totally go for the Major Glory one.
Which, by the way, with that again, with the priorities again, we have stuff like the ice cream, the quest for the Major Glory action figure.
He wants to he likes to watch cartoons.
Yep. And so with that, by the way, with the Major Glory action figure, again, Jacob, I had a moment. It was one of those moments where I remember watching it clear as day, and like the moment the episode unfolded, it all flooded back to me. Oh my god, it all just came back. Seeing Dexter with an experience in that show that is so true to I've had this experience.
Yeah.
The Major Glory action figure episode. There are two. Sorry, I should specify. There are two Major Glory action figure episodes. I love them both.
I don't think I got to those.
You may have gotten to. Well, yeah, you didn't. Well, the point being, there.
I was only able to watch all the priority ones.
I know. I did mark it down if you had time. So I assume it was kind of towards the bottom of it. Anyway,
sorry.
That's fine. The point being, there are two Major Glory episodes where basically he's on a quest for the Major Glory action figure, and the first one is basically the one that kind of cuts deep for me. Is that all the other kids had actual Major Glories, and which are really, I love the toy design. The toy design is flawless, by the way. It's so 90s and right on brand with every 90s toy you would have seen.
You have a thing for toy-based media in the 90s, don't you?
Yes, I do. Yes, of course. Anyway, so the fact that Dexter had like a paper cutout Major Glory action figure, they basically cut out the back of a cereal box, reminds me of my Action League Now envy of like the Burger King toys, where I had to draw my own action League figures.
I think you mentioned this during like one of the Recabinator streams.
I did. Went on a tangent there. Is like I had a Tonka truck because I didn't have like the red, like the red Action League Now vehicle, and I just put them in there on the front seat, and I have a back seat because it's a dump truck. That was my version. Anyway,
and Action League Now is that one where they like destroy all the action figures in horrific ways.
Absolutely. Every episode.
And they can get away with it because they're toys.
Yeah. Try doing that with the paper figures, Jacob. It's a lot of tape. You're going to need to redraw them a lot.
Yeah, and you probably didn't want to do that.
No.
Didn't have enough tape.
No. Anyway. So, and the other one was, honestly, my personal favorite. The other one, there's this great episode where it's Dexter's birthday. And this just shows you, man, okay? You have the the later Savino kind of revamp. They did a Dexter's birthday episode, and we had this episode. Now, mind you, this one's the actual birthday. The other one's like Dexter wants to know what he got for his birthday. Now, the later one, again, very weak sauce. Just Dexter has like a thought machine that basically backfires on him. It's Anyway, flip side though, Tartakovsky era. The episode's called Surprised or Surprised. Anyway, essentially Dexter he makes himself invisible so he can get past Dee Dee and see what his parents got him for his birthday. And he's looking for the Major Glory action figure. He's looking for the Turbo Man essentially. And he ends up going. The parents are going to the toy store. He ends up going along for the ride, and we see I don't know. I love the fact that it's like the kid fantasy of like, oh boy, if you can like tag along and make sure they get the right things. Anyway, like I said, kid priorities, charm of the character, and just Kavanaugh just again the fact that Kavanaugh brought the comedy to like these. They have these operatic stakes. These that are these comedic operatic stakes just are made so much more hysterical when they're about something so petty and so mundane.
Like toys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again,
so much so that they even made a literal opera episode.
That's what I mean. Yeah. So that's that to me was like the ultimate payoff of like the tone of Dexter's, that we do have a literal episode about opera. Like this is perfect.
Libretto.
I love libretto. Oh my god, libretto is this fantastic episode in which we have Dexter's. We go into the background of Dexter. If anyone's ever wondered how is Dexter so smart, I basically do an opera about his life that is basically staged kind of like a literal production, like a play.
He was literally
like an opera. You know what I mean? Like an actual opera. Yes.
And he was born smart.
He was born smart with a large cranium, which of course the big head. The reason for his short stature is that's why he's so smart.
And it also ego.
Well, that too. And again, just also like Kavanaugh playing like baby Dexter so adorably, and then with the lisp and everything. And it's like hello, little brother. What does this button do? Nothing. There's nothing here for you.
What have you got there? Nothing. You only see air.
God. That's what I'm saying. We end this like on the operatic plea of Dexter of like, oh, what life is this to lead?
It's like basically, it's like it ends on kind of like a sad note. That's the funny thing. I mean, it's literally an opera. It ends on a tragic note.
But that's an accurate opera, though. Rarely is an opera happy.
Yep, it ends on a tragic note of him like bemoaning his life. It's like, yes, he's a genius. He has this great lab, but Dee Dee will always be there to destroy his work.
It's kind of a meta acknowledgement of like, this is the formula my life is committed to.
Yep. Even though there was an episode dedicated to like, if Dee Dee wasn't there, he would be sad.
Oh yeah, so that's oh god, it's another really good one.
Dee Dee, you're fired.
Dee Dee and the Man. I hyped this one up to you. Now, did it live up?
It was kind of funny, yeah.
I mean, seriously, just the fact that the episode we go into the regular rigmarole, and we just kind of stop the episode for a second. Dexter randomly has an office, and he calls Dee Dee into it. We just shift the whole paradigm into what if Dee Dee's kind of like an employee of Dexter. Essentially, it's just the position of annoying sister.
Yeah, and it's like Dee Dee, I've been crunching the numbers, and like, you're fired.
I believe it's I forget. I think the dancer's name is Candy, but I think Candy the dancer.
It's like the actress. Yeah.
Well, you're right, the actress. So we have Candy the actress. We have love. This is a funny.
Well, the thing is, he interviewed a whole bunch of potential sisters, including a nun who is a literal sister.
Which is it's really funny.
Yeah,
Again,
yeah.
I love that he hires like right on the spot. Because like he's again the fact that Dexter's like roughly like an 8-year-old kid, but man, he's grown up.
He's like he sees her immediately. He's like, when can you start?
When can you start?
And then when she says when she gets close, he goes and washes his face off screen.
Well, it's not as much. He's doing the cold shower, essentially. That's,
Yep, he tried to cool himself off.
What does this button do? And I love just like it's sick and wrong to an extent because it's a sister,
She's supposed to be playing his sister.
But again, I mean, look, there's sister, and then there's just look at her.
Yep.
And again, so this brings us to my next point with her. Okay, just real quick.
Yeah.
Okay, so again, the Cat Susie playing her, and it's the range in which we get from Jeff Bennett and Cat Susie as mom and dad.
Yep.
As again, Cat Susie just these guys, I can't undersell how professional they are in terms of like the performance they're giving. They're bringing every episode just as these two characters, and then as they're doing double duty. Like Cat Susie's pretty much every other lady in the show, pretty much.
Yep.
And Jeff Bennett's pretty much anytime we need a funny character, it's got to be him.
I mean, she's basically every other female character except Dee Dee.
Yeah.
And Dee Dee was like voiced by two different actresses.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, so Cat Susie again, just fantastic. He's also playing kind of like the actress Dee Dee, and he's like, "Where are the cameras? Cameras? What are you talking about? Cameras?
Isn't the show of a real little boy?"
Dexter's Laboratories. I love the fact the idea to me seems she looked at the sign and assumed it was a TV show. That's what I'd like to think.
And it's like, my agent is so fired.
And also the whole no, I want you to dance.
How about the fact that he had auditions for a new sister?
It's great.
And of course, Cat Susie went on to play other famous moms in animation.
She tends to.
Yep.
All right. Also, again, kind of in the Dexter family too. If we look at Danny Phantom.
Yep, that's specifically the one I was referring to.
Yeah.
Another famous mom.
All right, so I guess in kind of continuing on that, so again, these guys are pros. Just so many voices, nailed it every time. Just gave really, again, not just hilarious performances, but also kind of some deep performances too. So we'll get to Jeff Bennett in a second. I can't wait to get to him. But
yeah,
with Mom. Okay, so Dexter's mom, by the way, the fact we never give him like any. There's no real last name for this family. It's just the Dexter family. It's just.
I mean, even the last episode says, "Go Dexter family, go."
Yep.
We don't even ever learn the parents' names.
Exactly.
They're just mom and dad.
So the idea that if we look at mom and dad, just looking at them and seeing how they act, there's one scene that exemplifies this perfectly. I don't know if you got in one of the episodes I sent you or not, but this is a beautiful scene where we are in the kitchen. Okay, and she's trying to bake something, or she's like excited about
the muffin episode.
I don't know if we had the scene in the Muffin episode or not. I mean,
yes, I did see the Muffin King.
Well, I know you saw the Muffin. I don't know if this scene. I think the scene looks like it's in the Muffin King, but I'm not sure. You tell. I think it is because it looks like she's making the muffins. Tell me if this sounds familiar. Okay.
All right.
Okay, I'm pretty sure the episode opens with her like, "At last, my creation."
Yeah, and then she's like exactly measuring the ingredients.
Okay, so that's it then. Okay, that's what I thought. Because I know the explosion of the mess looks exactly like the muffin, so I was pretty sure that.
Okay. And Dad gets his necktie caught into the machine.
That's it. So the point being, we see in this moment is perfectly exemplified where each child got their traits from. Where it's Dexter obviously he's got his mom's hair, has the intelligence of his mother, and the kind of the persnickety nature of the gloves as well. A lot of that again, which is all I love. Just in the design, the designs of these parents are the OG designs of these parents are fantastic, and they say so much about the character and like the perennial, like we're going off with the 50s 60s kind of retro style. We're going for like the nuclear kind of boomer family kind of thing.
I guess, yeah.
I mean, like it's kind of like the 50s, kind of like like the mom, dad, two kids, kind of like the picture of the American house. They even have a dog that they randomly had for plot purposes, much like the nuclear family.
Yep, which didn't appear at all in the episodes you sent.
Yeah, but assume there is a dog.
All right.
Not like but here's the often they will here's the thing, they will have a dog and they will often just like there's like an episode where basically Dexter, like a dog follows Dexter home and they take it in. We're literally, well, we forgot about the other dog that we have in the show because it doesn't matter. It's an ancillary dog.
And he just adopted all the dogs.
Yeah.
Like and the dad.
Oh yeah. So that's the thing. So we have
that episode shows how conniving and underhanded the dad can actually be.
okay. So that's the thing. So real quick with Mom, we got to do one more thing, with Mom though. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So that's the thing. So we have like her equivalent to get out of my laboratory with how many times have I told you not to bother in my kitchen?
It's like what are the rules of when I'm in the kitchen? Don't.
Don't be. Yes, and so that dynamic is love. It's this you get the personalities of the kids just embodied in the parents.
And then like also you gotta get a bit of Dexter in the dad in the episode where he doesn't want to be disturbed watching the golf game.
Exactly. We have like again the glasses being the kind of the connecting thread there too, and also as we learn Ego Trip, Dexter will grow up to sound exactly like his father.
Yeah, considering they're voiced by the same guy,
which is awesome.
Yeah, but it's basically Jeff Bennett doing a Christine Cavanaugh impression.
It is a great idea.
Yep.
So also with Mom here, the slightly psycho episode.
Yep. But
so we do a send up to Hitchcock.
Yep, where like where basically they take away her gloves
on Mother's Day so they can pamper her.
Yeah, but everything goes entirely because they have no idea how to clean the house.
And I love a part of you has to wonder, is that true or is that her is that her psychosis, kind of like the germophobia and like the OCD just kind of taking hold, like what she's maybe what she's seeing. I like that it's a little ambiguous though.
Kind of like both Psycho and Vertigo.
Yeah.
You never know what's real.
Mm-hmm.
But that episode does end on a sweet note when they give her a new pair of gloves.
And we have the Psycho homage in the shower.
Yeah, where she's scrubbing Dad's back.
Yep. Now, don't get any ideas, kids. She's using like the long like the loofah scrub brush thing.
Yep. Well, she's still scrubbing his back.
Yep.
Yeah, we do see him briefly naked though.
Well, yes.
Yeah, so they have a lot of butts in this show, I'm just going to say.
Oh, that they do. Now, yes, they do. And we also, we do emphasize, let's just say, Genndy Tartakovsky, he designs women, he patented the design of the attractive female in animation. He just did, okay? Just let's
just say they also snug a lot of adult humor into this show.
There's a lot of adult humor. One of the most famous examples being Dad's Trophy.
Yep.
That we already talked about Candy, so
Yep.
Also, Lisa the babysitter.
Like $50. That'll be $50 extra.
God. This is the cold shower gag in itself. There's just a lot of just really. So again, between the butts and the of course just the humor of just like the hourglass figure, there's a lot to mine there. Just to acknowledge that Dexter's got a very attractive mother. We're just gonna say that. We're just gonna let that be there. We're gonna move on.
I mean the whole Dad's Trophy thing was not Dexter's mom, but
no, it could have been in my book, yes. But let's just yes, the neighbor lady.
Well, we learned what kind of women Dragon likes.
A little judgy.
Hey, I'm not judging.
Anyway,
I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong, Dragon.
I don't know. I would make the argument. I think Dexter's mom is objectively attractive. I think.
I mean, Dragon. I'm not saying you're wrong.
Okay. Anyway,
I mean, the show's humor itself is like there's all kinds of different styles of humor in this show, like very broad, very non sequitur based, and obviously very cartoon. But the funny thing, it's not really it's not a gag-driven cartoon, if that makes sense.
Well, that's true. It's just kind of humor arising from the comedic setup,
and like it's really character-driven.
Absolutely. Speaking of which, let's talk Dad.
And can we even? I kind of want to mention like another thing with Dexter.
No, sure, go on.
We're mainly Christine Cavanaugh performance.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure I'll probably bring this up later, but an entire episode was just dedicated to like. And the episode's humor was dedicated to how many ways can we get Christine Cavanaugh to say omelette du fromage?
God. Omelette du fromage.
Like how many ways can we get her to say that and have it be funny every time?
Yeah, I'm sure that's got to be like every voice actor's like favorite episode of Dexter's Lab, just because of the it's the challenge of that represents their job so well, in which they have to they have to convey so much with like the simplest line.
Like omelette du fromage.
But that's the whole episode. Imagine, like, can you imagine her breaking out in laughter? She is like, so all he says is omelette du fromage the whole episode.
Omelette du fromage.
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 And world peace was achieved that day.
See, that's actually the solution to the world's problems. Just omelette du fromage.
Not just cheese omelets, just people saying omelette du fromage.
Exactly. We don't even need to. I know there's an egg shortage currently, but still, that's the thing. Just this the word.
And technically, that's not even correct French.
No, who cares though?
I mean, technically, cheese omelet would be omelette au fromage.
Jacob, are you trying to ruin this perfect episode?
No, Dragon. No, Dragon. I'm just saying my point is that it's funny. An entire episode's humor is derived from how many ways can they get Christine Cavanaugh to say omelette du fromage and have it be funny every single time.
Oh yeah.
And not to mention there are episodes.
Even writing it down.
And not to mention there were episodes where there was barely any dialogue at all, which is like especially the episode they showed me Dim, which didn't have any dialogue until the very end. That's a early precursor, what Genndy would do with Samurai Jack.
Okay, so we got to talk about Dim. Okay, since you brought us to that subject,
we still need to talk about Dad though.
Well, I'm trying to. We keep getting off focus.
All right, sorry, but Dim.
All right, so Dim, quite possible. If I were to say, so we have kind of our masterpiece episodes of Dexter's Lab, and Dim is absolutely one of them.
I mean, there's no dialogue except at the very end.
Yeah.
I mean, it's basically just a simple plot. A light bulb goes out in Dexter's lab, and it's his journey to replace it.
But again, I love that. Again, just the execution was,
It turns it into an odyssey, basically.
Yeah, it's just an odyssey, but again, this is what I live for: is the mundane quest, but operatically framed like an odyssey.
It's like he goes the way he dramatically unscrews it. He goes to his mom and shakes the light bulb,
Mm-hmm.
and then she just immediately just takes him to the hardware store.
Yes, but again, I love the pathos in the moment she sees that Dexter's really bummed out by this, and she's kind of reaching over in concern. And then there's the tension of, oh God, is she going to run over this small child playing?
And then no, they're just going really slow. but then I love the perspective of Dexter being in the hardware store by himself. It's so big. He's on he's in such a time crunch. He's trying to desperately find it. You've been in that situation. I mean, all kids have when they go into the store by themselves and they have no idea what's going on. I mean, if I don't do that a lot nowadays, but
yeah, because now everyone's worried about safety.
Yes, but even as adults, you go into a store sometimes and you're just where is everything? What's going on? So it's relatable even as an adult.
So that's the thing. So to me, honestly, I think Genndy's masterpiece episodes. You have Dim and you have Libretto. I think those are kind of the masterpiece episodes of Dexter.
And I said, the ending is just the icing on the cake. Where after he screws in the light bulb, I mean, of course, I also like the scene where he's wondering where's Mom? She's supposed to be here, all without dialogue. And then she's just honks the door, oh, she's over there. But then at the end, when he screws in the light bulbs, and Dee Dee's those are all gonna go out eventually.
I know.
The slow realization, I know.
Oh God, it's the most artistic yet. Here's the on paper episode boring as sin. On paper, Dexter goes to change a light bulb. Yet again, with the execute. Again, this is the whole reason we have a show. With Genndy's mastery over timing, execution, the boards in McCracken, it just it clicks, man. It livens it. That's what I'm saying. It's like the thing you can animate it. It's like for the people that with an animation say, yeah, you only do an animation what you can do, and you only do an animation what you can't do in live action. This is like the counterpoint. This is like the Brad Bird argument almost of like, no, we can look at what we can do with stuff we can do in live action, but it's gonna be more impressive if it's animated because we're not doing this.
What's the pitch of the episode? Dexter changes a light bulb. But it's like the most dramatic light bulb changing you'll ever witness.
Like, no joke, this episode is always like the most impressive to me, just in the sense of just how dramatic we made it.
And as I said, it's like kind of like a precursor to his work on Samurai Jack.
Yes, and we do not get Samurai Jack without Dexter's Lab.
Yeah, I mean
Because literally, Dexter's Lab, not even just with the way we're conveying the story, but just the fact that Dexter had really good action. That was them dipping their toe into what we would then fully explore in Samurai Jack.
And not to mention, obviously, again, all the like long stretches or even entire episodes without dialogue.
Oh yeah.
But instead of just like being 7 minutes without dialogue, it's obviously expanding it to like 20 minutes, and even expand that even further with things like Primal.
You know what one could say, Jacob?
Yeah.
This episode was the light bulb moment for Samurai Jack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, light bulb.
Light the bulb.
But yeah, it's like even just Samurai Jack is like a simple idea on paper, right?
Yeah.
Samurai gets flung into the future by an evil demon and has to make his way back.
Maybe not that simple, but yes.
I know. It's not that simple.
It's not that simple.
But yes.
It's not that simple, Samurai.
It's not that simple, Samurai. Yes. God bless Mako, by the way.
Yeah.
Who also did who did the outro for the credits for Dexter, by the way.
Which I think ultimately is less like plans of Samurai Jack, is just more of like, Genndy.
Genndy being a fan of Mako.
Well, it's like being a fan of Mako, but also he loves Conan.
Conan the Barbarian, yeah.
Yeah. Not just, I mean, look, I'm sure, I think everyone kind of likes like Conan O'Brien, but loves Conan the Barbarian.
Yeah. That's what I mean. Like, I've never actually seen the Schwarzenegger Conan the Barbarian.
Well, that's what I'm saying. He's obsessed with that. He loves that. Again, we don't get that's the other thing. It's kind of like without Dexter's Lab, kind of bringing it to animation. Conan the Barbarian. Without that, we really don't have Samurai Jack. That's really important.
Yep, and James Earl Jones is in that too, right?
Well, yeah.
Let's just say Tartakovsky has a lot of interesting tastes. Like a lot of like he loves comics.
Yeah, he was he was kind of a DC and a Marvel kid. His first comic was getting the stuff we should probably say, but he was it was a Super Friends comic, so again, it was kind of in a sense it was still tied to animation. So it was a comic that was like essentially somewhat of a tie-in comic to the Super Friends show.
Like it's kind of fun how like the name and concept is inspired by like DC, but the characters are Marvel parodies.
Well, that's the thing, because basically that was just his first comic, and then beyond that, you're right though, his leanings are very Marvel, and he went on to he did a Marvel comic once.
He did?
Yeah, he did kind of a little I don't know how many issues it was, but he did Luke Cage.
Well, we need him to make a show for Marvel.
Yes, we do.
Get him on
so Genndy loved, as we can tell by Action Hank. Genndy does have a love for blaxploitation and Luke Cage, which was kind of represent a little bit in.
He loves action. Looks like he just loves action movies. Heck, he even did storyboards for Iron Man 2.
Yes. Yep.
I remember seeing his name in the credits. I was like, "Hey, it's Genndy Tartakovsky."
Also, he was uncredited on Batman the Animated Series. That's what he was doing before Dexter.
Yeah, all Warner Brothers.
Mm-hmm.
As I said, that's the thing. Like, get him I know he's like still probably busy with like Unicorn and all, and the movies he's working on.
Now, with the style, something we should mention. I know we keep going from Dad, but trust me, we're going to be obsessed with dads. We got to just,
But still, it's like, seriously, get him a show at Marvel right now.
Yes.
While he's, I mean, I know he's a very busy man, but once he's done with all that stuff, get him a Marvel show.
Again, he's just trying to fight to release the stuff that he wants to release right now. He wanted to do Pie, and he's doing that. He's dealing with distributors, with Fixed. He's getting there.
Him, and also probably working on the new season of Primal, and and Unicorn Warriors Eternal.
He's busy. He's a busy man.
I mean, he's clearly enjoying what he's doing. Like, and glad he's not. It's a good thing he's not as much as a workaholic as he was when he was working on Dexter, though.
Yeah.
I think he's found a better balance. Like, he's not stretching himself as thin as he did when he worked on Dexter.
Oh yeah. But again, that's the thing. Here's the thing. It's like Genndy was kind of the slightly more healthy version of again, I'm saying slightly more healthy in terms of, I mean, it's still not good what Genndy was doing in it personally, in terms of, like, he's like losing girlfriends over the thing. Thankfully the third one, like, ended up being his wife and it all worked out.
You mean Dawn?
Yeah, Dawn.
Yeah.
But what I'm getting at is like, it's kind of like John Kay. He threw himself absolutely into it to the point where a lot of darks. He really pushed everyone to the brink, and really he got a really top notch thing out of it. He got top notch end product out of it, but he agonized and perfected it to the point where it drove everyone to madness, including himself. Genndy, he found a way of doing it.
I mean, with John K, there are already very, very much pre-existing issues there.
That's what I mean. So yes. But I'm saying in terms of his effect on his crew, I'm saying that the fact that he was the uber perfectionist to the point where it drove everyone like just mad, in the sense of just like they're being worked, it's a workhorse, and they're being beaten, they're being beaten and berated and everything. On the flip side,
Tartakovsky.
Genndy's got he's got a really good. He knows these guys. They kind of very much taught each other Cal Arts. He puts their trust in them. He has a very supportive crew, and vice versa. And he's leading the ship there. So it's very much like they all gave as much as they put out. So it was very much kind of a Pixar mentality, from kind of the early days of Pixar.
Especially, which is kind of funny considering the connection you brought up earlier.
Yep, in fact, we got Lou Romano, and we got Teddy Newton. We got also a little bit of Ricky Nevera. Anyway,
yeah.
Let's see. So, real quick, I promise we're going to talk about Dad. Dad's will be so awesome. We're going to be so tempted to talk about him for the rest of the thing. But I just want to get in there. A big influence in the editing and just kind of Genndy style. For all the inventing montages, I'm sure you're aware, Jacob, was indeed Army of Darkness. He was very Raimi inspired. Literally the scene from Army of Darkness, and also Evil Dead with the initial chainsaw assembly. The groovy scene was his inspiration for Dexter, in terms of, like, every time we have a montage where Dexter makes the invention, the way in which we edit it is an homage to Army of Darkness.
And not to Army of Darkness is a big inspiration, but he's also obviously has gone into like a lot of the work pacing and things like that were inspired by like Japanese cartoons and anime.
Well, yeah,
like as you mentioned, like Speed Racer is obviously a big influence. Like the giant robots, obviously derived from anime. There's I think that one of the season finales was him literally going to Japan.
Yeah, but no, I'm just that's all very well and true, Jacob. I'm just saying that literally, like, the way in which we edit, that we construct the shot there, it's like we do like the 3-shot structure. That's literally it's the Sam Raimi thing.
Yeah, I know.
Anyway,
I get that, but I'm just saying, like, there's not like just one.
No, you're right. There's not just one influence, but I thought it was it's something kind of cool.
I mean, I mean, as the saying goes, like, good artists imitate, great artists steal.
Mm-hmm.
But Tartakovsky didn't really steal, though. But he drew a lot of influences from a lot of various works. Like, he didn't just draw it from one source. That's my point. And obviously the show's kind of like a melting pot of all this stuff.
Well, especially all the genre bang that's going on. There has to be.
Yep.
All right, so Dad. I'm just make a statement pure and clear.
And I'm going to say I noticed a lot of the priority ones involve Dad.
Yes. Okay. So let me, Jacob, no joke. When I was making those priority marks in that list of episodes I gave you, the very first priorities were all the Dad episodes. Okay. So, Dad, I just want to say this parenthetically, just lay it out in Front Street. I worship the ground Jeff Bennett walks on. I really do. And rewatching Dexter, I'm reminded of why. It's just again, one of the top voice actors in the business. Just I am convinced that this was the big role, that we do not get him as Johnny Bravo without his performance here. Like, this is like the one. It's like, okay, Jeff has to be the guy for Johnny Bravo. It's like, just look at what he's capable of in the range and everything. This lands him the Johnny Bravo job, which is an iconic character on his own terms, you know.
Oh, mama.
So I'm saying, like, it feels like the work that he put into this character is like, okay, you can absolutely be the title character of your own show, Jeff Ben.
Thank you very much.
So Dad's episodes are just so perfect because he's just so talented. He's so funny, and he's this very 50s era dad, unassuming 50s dad. He's very hapless. He's the hapless sort where you see where Dee Dee kind of got it from. But he's the chipper, cool dad. And that's the thing. I love that Dexter's parents are actually really good parents, in the sense of, even though clearly their kids doing stuff under their nose with the secret lab. Clearly,
he's not a bumbling idiot dad.
Yeah. Unless it comes to muffins, but aside from that,
and even then, he's not bumbling. He's just.
No, you're right.
He's more like conniving, and like I mentioned earlier, the episode, like when the squirrel stole the muffin. Yeah, like he fought the squirrel, and then it turns out it was all a ploy to get like a free muffin before dinner.
God, I love it. I love it so much.
When I saw that episode, I was like, he's a freaking genius.
Yes. Well, we see, again, in part, we see where Dexter got it from.
Like, you can, like, as I saw a quote somewhere, it's like, you can see where these two would birth a scientific genius.
Oh, yeah. Anyways, it's the fact that he is, I love that the parents really do, they care about their kids. They're really, good with their kids. They're raising them right, despite the whole lab under their noses thing. Which obviously lends to the comedy, but that's what I'm saying. These guys are not the Turners. Like, that's where Butch Hartman went off the reservation there. Like, that's the difference in style there. Butch Hartman likes very flawed parents. But yeah, it's just it's the fact that he's chipper. He's pretty much always in a good mood. He's a cool dad. Again, we know the things that put him in a bad mood. We're going to get there. But he loves his wife, and he's just the moments he spirals though, and he just goes off the deep end, are just like legendary in the best sense of the word. So I guess yes. So there are 4 perfect examples. Honestly,
Earl.
Along with Dim, I think possibly the greatest episode of Dexter's Lab is Ham Hocks and Arm Locks. This is, for me, is definitively the most nostalgic episode of Dexter's Lab. I
didn't see this episode upon first airing, obviously.
Yeah, no, of course. But man, I tell you, I love it so much. I just love the fact that it's just this very they're in a very helpless position. They go to this truck stop, and McCracken worked on this one. I'm pretty sure, because McCracken, as we can tell by Kid Cosmic, I forget
Diners.
What?
Diners.
Yeah, diners. Well, this is like the truck stop diner, though.
Yep.
That's the thing. So if I don't miss my guess, because I know, so in Kid Cosmic we have the truck stop diner, and it is it's that show is seemingly very personal for McCracken. I have to wonder if his upbringing was a lot of like kind of truck stops. And I mean that when maybe, let's just say, in a future project we might have going on, when I do my deep dive on Craig McCracken, I want to try and look into that, see if I can find anything out on that, like if his upbringing involved any of that, because it seems like a really good comfort zone for him. He knows this environment, and this episode reflects that authenticity so well, of like, okay, this is a guy who's been to these truck stop diners and seen kind of like the big customers you don't want to mess with, like an Earl. He's seen an Earl, and the fact that we don't show Earl's face is such a smart choice. Making him just this silent hulking, and I love just Dad, just he puts on the jukebox, and just him like dancing all happy like to this really just great 50s music, and and Earl demands an arm wrestle. He wants to make this man pay for like making him lose, which he's never lost before. And just the fact that everything, he literally trashes the car and everything, and it just nothing phases the happy-go-lucky Dexter's father until the best moment ever happens.
It's like when he slams the door on Dexter, on the mom.
And oh my god, it's this moment where he just sees red, and he is upset. The music just compliments the soul of the kids. They've seen this before, like, uh-oh. And he just, you can treat me like dirt, you can insult me, you can humiliate me, you can destroy my property.
But you hold a door open for a lady, especially my wife.
When that lady's my wife.
Yep.
Oh.
He just like you, me, 1 hour.
Be there or be square.
Yep. And but Dexter and Dee Dee, they knew that he wouldn't stand a chance.
Dexter, he works with the science, and again, this is what I'm talking about. This scene, Jacob, of all the scenes in Dexter, this one very much literally is the Sam Raimi kind of homage.
And the entire episode just dedicates Dee Dee blows up Dexter's lab, but in this case, they're the entire family's just a family unit in this one. They're all like looking out for each other.
I think he might have even said groovy. I can't even recall. I might have. I don't know.
I don't think so.
Okay, maybe it. I know he did the spit at the end. I don't know if he said groovy and then did that, but yeah.
But he did do the spit.
Yeah.
But even Dee Dee Dexter, make with the science or something. Like, oh yeah.
Once again, it's the kid logic of oh yeah, I can do that.
It's but yeah. It's the entire family's being supportive of this whole thing.
I love the chrome mud flap kind of design on the
Like,
thing. And me being the gadget nut that I am, I geeked out about this so hard as a kid. That was the coolest. And you know me, I love wrist-mounted gadgetry. So I know it's more than a wrist, but I just, oh my god,
it's the entire arm.
Yes.
And somehow Dad doesn't question it.
Well, yeah. Someone points out, oh, nice watch. Oh, thanks.
It's just he looks at the other one, looks at his other hand.
Doesn't really make any sense, you know. Just
nobody questions how he suddenly has a giant robot arm.
God.
It's
anyway,
classic cartoon logic.
Just fantastic. And everyone, you're probably wondering, how's it get any better than that? Well, we have Snowdown. Snowdown being this very happy-go-lucky. Okay, Dex. Yep.
I was the champ once when I had the gift. That entire episode was basically Calvin and Hobbes.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, the backgrounds were inspired by Calvin and Hobbes.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a great one. Where we learned Dexter's dad's history as the greatest snowballer who ever lived.
Yep, he married one of the reasons he married. Apparently, he married Dexter's mom for two reasons. One, for her muffins, and two,
because she was the only person to ever beat him in a snowball fight.
Exactly. So
even though it was just the small attack from behind, no. It's he words it he tells the story it's the worst thing ever, but it's just
it's the PTSD that he has and the shiver and everything. By the way, something to throw out there again with the perennial kind of cartoon, the monolithic Mount Rushmore of cartoons that Dexter's Lab finds itself on here. We have the iconic, the and also Powerpuff Girls that use the same sound library, but between him and Craig McCracken, they basically have the sound library. It's the way Nickelodeon has the sound library. We have the little shiver sound, almost like a xylophone, kind of not a xylophone, the maraca kind of a.
This entire show used the classic, used very, very well used the Hanna-Barbera sound library.
Exactly. So let's see. So anyway, it's Dexter says, he goes into these. He always given these excellent just kind of monologues where a man is just he's teetering on the edge of sanity.
It's like they called me that once when I had the gift.
Look, it's such a lighthearted episode, and yet it's a lighthearted premise.
Again, operatic.
Lighthearted premise, operatic execution.
It's it's like Dexter and Dee Dee just having Dee Dee getting the best of Dexter in a snowball fight. And Dexter turning to his dad, who turned this into it basically turned into a Rocky montage of training Dexter how to throw a snowball.
Yep.
And then at the end, when he finally managed to hit Dexter, it's "Oh, Dexter, you finally hit me." It's "Yes, I did." And then he's they're just completely fine with it now.
What are you doing, Dexter? She's the enemy.
But she got hurt from. Oh God. That was a great one.
Yeah. Okay. So another monolith for me with Dad is aside from Hamlocks and Armlocks, I love Dad is Disturbed.
Like he's just he trying. Dad's. It's a classic premise, He just wants to watch the game.
And we've all been there. We've all had fathers like this. It's just but some of us may have grown into fathers like this, but it's just this relatable. It's also relatable yet so heightened. This fact you're just trying to watch the game, and everything is getting in the way of it. And also, I
And
love the gag that the game you're imagining traditionally, you're thinking like football, baseball, maybe even hockey,
golf.
which I got to admit hit me because my father, in mind, he likes all the other sports. Actually, he loves. He's not much of a baseball. He's more of a football guy. But point being, he there's the football, but he loves golf though.
Yep.
As I'm saying to you, well, he loves golf. So I did this. So that's where this always hit me nostalgically. Yep. Like, what if he took the game that seriously?
And the thing is, he even got like a special chair for it.
He's got like, I love that chair so much with like all the snacks built into it.
Yep. It's like you want a chair like that when you're just cozying in and just watching a game.
Dear God, yes. And he just kicks he kicks like the couch out. He puts the chair there, and he's
It's like again operatic and like simple premise is a guy put into sitting in his chair, but so dramatic.
and then like I laugh so hard in the rewatch where it's like Dexter's mom just sitting there gabbing on the phone. It's like every husband's worst nightmare, and just like I love the conversation, like the realistic conversation. Well, but I'm here. It's like, well, then go away. I can't hear either. Go away.
like she intruded on him though.
She did. No, he's absolutely in the right here, and but then we have the hysterical overreaction. Okay, so
Like where he ties up Betty.
not just Betty.
And-
Okay,
Yep.
Betty Rubble from the
Yep.
Flintstones.
That's what he's like, dude, because the mom was talking to Betty on the phone, and so he went and tied her up.
See her in the holidays, Betty. And then of course our end payoff after he has his meltdown over the like he goes to use the bathroom and he comes back and they're all watching like Wheel of Fortune. It's like no, he's just
Like,
weeping.
I feel so bad for Dad this episode.
I do. He's having this mental breakdown. It's sympathetic, but it's insane. It's over just not being able to watch TV.
So he comes up with another solution to go to a friend's house.
Barney, and he's already like tied up his wife, and he's intruding on Barney just like his wife.
And then Barney just doesn't say a word, but it's like, why am I in this situation right now?
And of course, we already mentioned a little bit of the Muffin King, where we have a lot of gags too. A little bit of Tartakovsky Star Wars love with Dexter. I am your father. No way.
Wait, no, that's right.
This is the fact that Dexter, while being a genius, he can be easily manipulated by his father.
It's like he just looks into Dexter's eyes and is able to like hypnotize him into stealing the muffins. It's like no, Dexter, resist the Jedi mind tricks.
And he's just trying everything. He's using the Jedi mind trick. He's dressing like mom, and they blackmail him. Like, the guys in the office are gonna love this. And then, of course, the best part of the episode, honestly, Dexter's mom. Just like you warning, he is a muffin fiend. He's tricky.
And then when you see him just in there like looking in.
Mm-hmm.
And I said I just really love. As I mentioned earlier, I love the ending to the Muffin King. It's like where a squirrel, seemingly random squirrel that you do see earlier in the episode, but you think like, what's that squirrel gonna do? But then it steals the muffins. He fights the squirrel for it. Like the mom sees what he did and rewards him with a muffin. And then he goes and says, "Here's your part of the deal."
He's a bag of nuts.
Yep. I was like, he's a freaking genius.
Oh yeah. So then we have other just a few other there's this whole thing where the kids drink all the coffee, and it's the idea the parents are on coffee. The kids are like, I wonder what the deal with coffee is, and they just drink it. They end up like kind of liking the caffeine, and they down the whole thing, and then it's the next morning. And Dad shows up, and he's looking for, where's the coffee? Basically, he goes through like the 5 stages of grief in like this epic monologue talking about the importance of coffee and where he's gone wrong raising them. It's just Jeff Bennett just killing the scene.
I didn't get to that one.
I know, it's brilliant. Just this whole like this coffee thing, and he's explaining to Dexter's mom is like they're having this whole breakdown. Like, what? It's like, yes, the coffee's gone. There's no coffee. It's like the literal end of the world.
The coffee's gone.
Yep. Also, there's Catch of the Day, which is the fishing episode, which is
I did watch that one.
oh god, how great is Catch of the Day?
It was pretty funny. It's like then just like, no, son, we have to make it before the sun rises.
I love the conditional nature of the thing. Oh god.
It's like there's only one boat out there. No, son, we have to be there first. It's traditions.
Oh, at least the fact that Dexter's like driving at Mach speed, and he's like,
And-
we kill off the other drivers.
And the fact that dad doesn't care that his son's driving.
Nope.
And then they do make it. They don't get in the boat, but they literally crash the car to the lake and piss
Such
off of
a great climax. He drives right up like, we're not gonna make it. Oh yes, we are.
Forget about boat rentals. They're just gonna crash the car into the lake. Nothing's more relaxing than fishing. After all they went through, nothing's more relaxing.
All right, so let's transition into Mandark. Eddie Deason, haunting our nightmares forever.
Like I said, you remember how he was in Polar Express, right?
Well, yeah.
Like I said, I know some people, like probably the adults watching that, were probably thinking like, "Oh, that's the guy from Grease." When I was like, "Oh, hey, that's Mandark."
Also, the guy from 1941.
I was like, "Oh, hey, that's the guy from Mandark. That's Mandark." when I heard his voice.
So Mandark, Dexter's obnoxious arch rival, and so the minute in the Dexter's rival episode where we introduced Mandark, honestly, I gotta be honest, Jacob, I think we all love Mandark. Let's just say more so than the revival, but we like Mandark. I don't think we'd ever truly beat his first appearance like that Dexter's rival episode is, because Mandark has all the power in that episode, and then we kind of put him on Dexter's level after that. But it's just still I forgot just how crushing it is. Like when Mandark wins, and I think one of the most impressive performances from Kristen Cavanaugh is
"I love you, computer."
just the fact that he is in love with science, and the representation of science in his lab is the female voice on the computer, which I'm pretty sure is Kath Soucie, by the way.
And the thing is, Mandark gets undone by love too.
Yes, I love it.
Like because he falls. Dee Dee.
Yep, he loves Dee Dee, and it's just the structure there of like Dexter. He's having like he's looking forward to starting the school year, and then this Mandark shows up, atomizes his confidence with the rival, and he shuts down the computer, which is like it's just so gut wrenching to watch, even thinking about it.
And then the computer's like, "I love you too, Dexter."
Oh my god, it's the knife and I'm so glad the end of the episode showed him and the computer like toasting each other or something. I'm so glad
with root beer.
I am so glad, because if we didn't have it would have been too sad.
With root beer, by the way, with like glass bottles of root beer that have been chilled in ice.
It is his go-to beverage, even in space. When we see the giant, the Robodex 2000, there's like a giant bottle of root beer.
Yeah, and I just love how he's like chilling it in a bottle of ice, like it was a thing, like it was a fancy thing of wine.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of like delicious stuff, you wanted to drink that root beer.
Yeah.
Like, do you like Dragon? Do you like root beer?
Not really, but I would try that root beer.
But, I mean, root beer is like one of my go-to drinks.
Here's the thing: I'd be tempted to try the root beer float.
Yeah, but you have to admit, Dexter's root beer looked good.
It did.
Very
refreshing.
But yeah, it's like Mandark falls in love with Dee.
And we have just the perfect payoff where, okay, Dexter sees his opportunity for revenge here because Mandark's got this impressive lab. Okay, he's gonna set a little play date for him and Dee Dee, and Dee Dee just utterly demolished. This is what I'm saying. It's a perfect Mandark episode in a vacuum.
It's like he basically tricks like her like doing a dance, which basically causes Dee Dee to throw Mandark around and destroy the lab.
Honestly, it really does feel like we kind of had Mandark and we weren't sure if we were going to bring him back, so they made it kind of a one and done, and then he kind of came back and just kind of ran with it, in a good way.
Yep.
So,
and I mean, not all of his like trademarks should have been established, but like I don't think he really did his laugh too much in that episode.
True.
I don't think he did his evil laugh.
Well, he did the evil laugh because basically in his victory over Dexter, that was pretty much it, though.
Yeah, I mean, but yeah, it's like It wasn't until later that became more defined. You're like, ah ha ha ah ha ha, that kind of thing.
Yeah, again, this is what I'm talking about in the revival. It was a step too far when we had, Mandark. We had a whole episode patterned around the laugh, which is a very cheap joke.
I mean, like even in the Tartakovsky stuff.
Well, that's what I'm saying. We didn't really. I don't know. I would still attest that we did a better job there because it literally wasn't like a whole.
Don't give. I'm just saying that, but even still, like his laugh wasn't fully defined from that episode from the get go.
Yeah.
And like a lot of his like finding like his other facets of his personality.
All right, so we should probably talk about kind of our spin-off segments.
The Justice Friends.
The Justice Friends.
Yes, their greatest challenge yet: modern living.
Managing everyday life.
Changing light bulbs.
So yeah, we have the idea that Justice Friends is basically kind of like a fun Hanna-Barbera, parody of the Super Friends. Basically the Super Friends, and
which basically Hanna-Barbera did.
I know, which basically is kind of like the hokey self-parody of Hanna-Barbera.
Yep.
But it's just the idea we did a hokey sitcom with a trio of heroes. You got Major Glory, again, excellent voice cast, but we got Rob Paulson, we got Tom Kenny, and we got Frank Welker.
And the infraggable Krunk.
Yep.
And Val Holland.
So, Major Glory being kind of like he's kind of a fusion. He's a hammy version of Captain America and Superman. Val Holland's Thor, and as a rocker, and the infraggable Krunk is basically the Hulk with different colors.
And
reverse colors, actually, just swapped colors.
And dumber.
Well, that too.
And he really likes puppets.
Yes, he loves the Puppet Pals, which is kind of the unofficial third kind of spin-off, but yes.
I like the Puppet Pals.
Yep, so he loves those Puppet Pals, and we have there are two episodes I think of when I think of Justice Friends.
Yes.
We got Ratman,
which I didn't get to, unfortunately.
This is really fun. It's Maurice LaMarche, I believe, playing just kind of this.
I did get to one episode where Maurice LaMarche was in.
Yeah, I'm glad for that because we got to talk about that, but in a second. But there's a Ratman. So it's like Maurice LaMarche, I believe, playing just kind of like basically a ridiculous version of Batman, who's Ratman. Is basically it's kind of like a 30-year-old guy, who's like 30 or 40-year-old guy. Who's he's basically in the basement of Justice Friends building. And it's kind of like we recap the origin of Batman with Ratman. Essentially, they took him to the movie. Said, "I lost my parents at 30," and they didn't even lose them. Like they ran away. They're not dead. They saw a rat. The rat scared them and ran away. And like Val Hound's like pointing out like all the holes in the story. Like, so you took the identity of the thing that took your parents away.
Yes.
Anyway. So it's pretty funny, but what's much funnier is Bonk in the Night. So Bonk in the Night is is kind of our heady dreamscape episode in which Kronk is approached by a Phineas and Ferb character.
The zebra, which unfortunately, if only he was voiced by Jeff Bennett in that episode.
Yeah.
If only the zebra in the trench coat was voiced by Jeff Bennett, that would have been an amazing coincidence.
So what did you think of this one, Jacob?
I thought it was like a very interesting one, like where Kronk has been watching the Puppet Pals for 4 days straight, and then basically gets pulled in, gets to star in, and gets to start in his own. Even like I thought the Ford joke was more clever than the puppets gave him credit for.
Well, I remember one of the puppets was kind of into it.
Yep.
Puppet Pal Clam. There's Clam and there's Mitch.
Yep.
Also, Rob Paulson.
Yep. Like, I thought that was fine. And then the zebra in the trench coat who brought him in there. And then at the end, I was like, "Oh, it was just a dream, or was it a dream?"
The never-ending nightmare.
And then it's the nightmare of the puppets, who apparently have watched a 4-day marathon of the Justice Friends. That was an insane episode. I can See why you selected that one.
Just the mundane premise of these guys, and I like that they've kind of phased out the laugh track, but by the same token, the laugh track was kind of fun and corny. It's them dealing with all sort of like fighting over the TV. Uncle Sam's gonna visit. Like the Krunk has one of the other best ones I should have recommended was, Krunk has it's an episode where basically Krunk has a toothache. It's like every superhero is trying to help.
The one where he eats the chips.
Yeah, the one where he eats the chip, he gets embedded in the tooth, and basically every superhero and their mother is just trying to help get it out, and then none of them can do anything. So this is like Genndy's kind of love story with the love letter to Marvel.
Yep.
All right, dial M for monkey.
I love monkey.
I'm going to throw this out there because no one ever talks about this. It's always threw me off that we kind of got Dexter's coloring wrong in like the stock opening of Dial M for Monkey. I wish it always bothered me they never fixed that.
Yep. Yeah, it is kind of weird, but maybe they didn't think okay, we're not gonna bother fixing it for this just short segment.
Yeah.
But
Anyway, tell them what you like about Monkey.
I just basically love the ridiculous idea that it's Dexter's monkey who has no idea that the monkey is the superhero in the first place.
So it's kind of like it's kind of karma for like how his parents would react to his lab.
Yeah, but the fact that monkey is just like this incredible superhero, just not even an intelligent monkey, just a monkey with superpowers.
Yep, just an average monkey, with basically cosmic abilities.
And he can fly, he can do all kinds of things, but he's just a monkey.
Can hear telepathic thoughts.
Like Agent Honeydew.
Oh my God, she lives up to her namesake. I'll tell you that much.
She is quite a lovely woman.
And again, Katsusi.
She is a lovely woman.
Yes, she is. I love that she's just kind of like she feels like a Steranko drawing come to life.
Like Black Widow almost.
Yeah, that's the thing. So Steranko was the Nick Fury artist, like the '70s Nick Fury artist.
Nice.
Nick Fury Agents of Shield, like that whole.
But yeah, so Agent Honeydew like monkey, we need your help, and then he just transforms into monkey.
Yeah,
monkey becomes monkey.
Yeah, we have this great theme and everything. Now, easily for me, now everyone's going to say the Wrestler episode's great, and it is great. So the Wrestler episode is the one with
Randy Savage,
Macho Man Randy Savage, playing a wrestler. It's essentially in kind of like a Secret Wars / Infinity Gauntlet kind of situation. Everyone's on deck, and they're all trying to defeat this one foe.
Yeah,
kind of like the Beyonder as a wrestler.
The Wrestler.
Yep. Now, while that's great, I know everyone's gonna say that's their favorite one. I tell you, man,
I wish I would have seen that one.
On the rewatch, going through the whole show, I completely forgot about how perfect this was and how much I loved it. The Simon episode, the Simeon episode, Simeon episode.
that episode was hilarious.
Oh my God, I love it so much.
I mean, that was basically Maurice LaMarche doing his Orson Welles voice, or is it more like his father voice, the voice that would become father?
Yeah, so it's his father voice, and the father voice, and essentially what he's doing here, there's a little bit of a flourish to it. Essentially, it's every time he does, father is Kirk Douglas. So it's basically Maurice LaMarche doing his Kirk Douglas impression, but I would argue there's a little bit of Charlton Heston with like the way he's delivering the lines here, which of course Charlton Heston for obvious reasons.
Apes.
Yeah, which is kind of an odd too. So I think it's kind of a combination. It's primarily Kirk Douglas, which he then perfected with Father, but a little bit of Charlton Heston.
And of course, there's like the Grodd connection here and there.
Well, that's true as well. Honestly, you know what connection I made too beyond Grodd?
What?
I don't know why, and I think it's just me just projecting. It's obviously me projecting, but I still like it though. Simeon, he feels a lot like Ra's al Ghul.
That is good. Ra's al Gorilla.
There you go.
Who's like the? Trying to think of like the other like one of the other gorilla supervillains.
Well, he's not a supervillain, but there is
Monsieur Mala.
He is a villain. Yes. So there's Monsieur Mala. That yes.
That's what I was reminded of as well.
There's Savitar. Oh, not Savitar. There's two characters in the DC universe that have a very similar name. There's Savitar and I'm trying to remember where the I comes in on the name. There's Savitar, and there's the other, the white ape that runs Gorilla City that threw Grodd out. So Savitar and
Savitor?
that's like
I don't know.
crap. Anyway, but yeah,
But either way. But yeah, Simeon.
yeah. Anyway. So, but yeah, this is just an excellent episode where we have this refined ape character who's essentially a Bond villain, and he's basically like trying to get Monkey on his side because they're both kind of intelligent apes.
Yep.
They're
like
evolved apes, I guess more accurately. He was exposed to gamma radiation.
Like, it turned him into a genius. He basically turned his thoughts into reality. And then basically it's like, the humans don't care about you. No human ever does. And then Monkey remembers his time with Agent Honeydew, and then basically defeats Simeon by handing him a banana. Right?
No, absolutely. That's what I'm saying. He gives him like the silly. He does. It's a kind act, and it just brings him to tears and just this moment of, again, just the fact that it's this beautiful, like guttural, like just like this moment of catharsis. And you know who wrote this episode?
Who did?
Lou Romano. My God, Lou Romano. He just nailed it in the writing because I just love the fact that it's on its face. It's so he defeats him with a banana, but not like slipping on a banana. He gives him it's a simple act of kindness, but it's the fact there's such pathos and such drama with this ridiculous.
So signs a good deed in a weary world.
Yes.
But yeah, but the fact that it's just like he hands him a banana, and he's like, what have I done? And then he just reverts back to being a monkey, takes off his clothes, and lives in the jungle.
Yep.
All because Monkey gave him a banana.
I think it's Sativar, by the way. That's the ape I was thinking of. Sativar.
All right.
Very similar, right?
It is very similar.
Very annoying. Anyway.
But yeah, it's like he defeats him using giving him a banana. It's a good. I mean, I was like laughing my butt off the entire time I saw that. And of course, Maurice LaMarche is over dramatic acting for that. Just
again, the fact that he's just giving that caliber of performance for a cartoon like this is just flawless.
For a banana.
For a banana.
Yep.
And so I guess to round some stuff out before we cover like the finale kind of stuff. So it's just some favorite episodes just to kind of shout them out and just they kind of are in
some other highlights.
Yeah. The Dollhouse drama episode.
That was great.
Again, just the fact that we're letting Kavanaugh just like play into the soap opera of it all. And here's the thing: I hate, as someone who detests soap operas, I this is the kind of thing I live for. Where only Genndy Tartakovsky could make me care about a soap opera. With the way execution, if all soap operas had an execution like this, where like they knew what they were making fun of themselves, playing it over dramatic, but actually being like genuinely compelling amidst the satire, that's how you do it.
It's like he comes, he forgets, like he's playing the husband who forgot his briefcase only to find his wife in the arms of another man.
God, this evil robot twin.
Where's the other man?
I know that's later. I'm still,
It's like I didn't know it was. I thought it was you. And then like the ghost of his ex-wife. It's just like, oh my god. And the fact that Dexter's shrunk and that's why it happened. Why he was like having to. Yeah.
It's the sanity effect of when you can shrink that. He's like licking the sticker like it's breakfast.
Yeah, but then the ending is what sells it. With like when he regrows, like he accidentally ruins the
dollhouse and like decapitates Darby.
And Dee Dee's like goes to get Mom, but then when they go up and see, he's like he has Darby hooked up to this medical device. Like she's recovering.
It's a flawless ending. It's just like that is like the ultimate punchline.
and then Dee Dee and Mom are just like
backing away slowly.
Yeah, they're like, okay then. It's like she's recovering.
Oh my god.
I think that was like one of the first ones I watched. Like I mean, like I technically I think you said like the Dexter's rival first, but I read Dollhouse Drama first, and then Dial M for Simians.
Yep.
Dial or just for Simeon.
Yeah.
but I so that technically that was the first one I watched on the priority list, and
Right.
it was quite a reintroduction to Dexter.
Oh yeah. But again, that's what I want to highlight. Dexter is ultimately it's about the drama within the comedy. It's like the operatic execution of our simple premise.
I mean, like he shrunk down, his mind was overactive, and he got invested in the drama of like his doll wife and his evil twin, which Dee Dee just happened to name Dexter because she stole his toys.
Yep. All right. So another iconic one from my youth. I don't know about you. This was like the most like the one they hyped up a lot, and even like they like little trivia things they would cite this one because of the Hanna-Barbera cameos. Beard to be feared.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Just again, I respect I respect good facial hair comedy.
Like Action Hank.
Action Hank.
Like I have a beard myself, you know.
Wait, well, are you funny?
I mean, I like to think I am.
Yeah,
I mean, you've laughed at some of the things I've said,
that's true.
so.
I don't know if it's all the comedy comes from the fact that you are bearded, though, so I don't know if it necessarily is the same.
Oh, I'm just funny.
Plus, let's face it, the mustache is much funnier. I'm just saying that Dexter's case here, he made the full beard work.
Like, why don't you send them in? Because they only have mustaches.
Exactly. God.
It's like the beard makes them tougher.
Yep.
And then you think it was like when you'd think like Action Hank would like tell Dexter to get out of there and be something. No, they literally tie their beards together and use each other as a weapon.
God, and again, this episode this is like the Luke Cage homage to the whole black exploitation. It's basically Shaft, and I'm not saying this is Luke Cage specifically. I'm saying the tone of maybe the comics love of Genndy, but this is like the whole,
Shaft.
just
Damn right.
they have Dee Dee's friends just going like.
He's
It's like,
rugged.
what? Yeah.
Like, that's my brother. Oh, nah, I can dig it.
It's like, what? We're just talking about Dexter.
I can dig it.
Of course, I love the ending though, where Dexter ends up getting mistaken for Santa Claus and kidnapped, which is really funny considering the Christmas episode of Dexter's Lab.
Which I haven't seen yet, but I love it. It's like Mrs. Claus is worried.
Let's just say, do you want me to tell you what happens in the Christmas episode?
Sure, just keep it brief.
Okay, Dexter basically is trying to disprove Santa. He's convinced that Santa's mom and dad, and the way he goes to... he basically tries catching him in the act, but it's a real Santa Claus. And again, so he's not being intentionally malicious with this, but he basically gets into a fist fight with Santa and his reindeer.
Oh God!
To be fair, it's like one reindeer, mind you, for simplicity, because you don't want to make those poor animals draw like 8 reindeer. But he's basically, it's Dexter and fighting literal Santa Claus, and he's like they're again, he's just attacking him, and he also he does there's this bit where he thinks the reindeer is his mom. Here's the bit that always crazy why I love this. Okay, so the Ranger's like protective Santa. He's like, no, look, it's okay. I can't be your little boy forever. And the Ranger's like looking at Santa like, what?
They were on something when they made this show.
Yes. They were on brilliance.
Probably brilliance and lack of sleep.
And lithium, but yes.
But mostly lack of sleep, it seems like.
Well, sleep deprivation, yes.
Well, same thing.
Okay, anyway, so let me see. Oh yeah, so here's something we should talk about real quick too. I love their 70s guest stars that we got to, because Genndy was born in 1970, so he grew up in the 70s, and around the time he would have been Dexter's age, he would have been aware of these guys, and the fact they got him in the show, it's really impressive. The two that come to mind, Dom DeLuise, Coos, man, Coos on the loose.
I didn't get to that one.
I know, but still, so Koozie is Dee Dee's imaginary friend, and there's this beautiful episode with Dexter. Dexter's stuck dealing with her imaginary friend.
Aww.
And it's just this. It feels so Don Bluth, and the fact that Dom DeLuise is in it, I'm sure helps. But maybe a send up to it as well, where it's like this. There's like a tearful goodbye with Kuzi. And Jacob, it ends on a downbeat. It is not a happy ending. It's a bittersweet ending.
It isn't also like kind of like a parody of like how Don Bluth kind of became like overly saccharine.
Yeah, I think so.
Yep.
Where it's like the thing where it's like Dexter's like, right, Kuzi, and you know he disappears, and then like Dee Dee's like run off. It's Dexter's kind of left there sad. It's a sad ending.
And like another sad ending example being like The Way of the Deity.
Yeah.
Like basically where Dexter destroys his own labs.
Yeah.
It's like that's like one of like the straight up like darkest endings in the show.
Oh yeah.
Like where he's just like fixing his lab in silence after destroying it. It's like, jeez. All right, go on.
All right, let's see. Okay, let's so we have Dom DeLuise. We also have Paul Williams. Paul Williams had a great episode too, where basically he taught. It was kind of the art and science thing, where he basically was kind of educating Dexter in music.
Nice.
I think it's the fact that we had Paul Williams, the other historic kind of short genius of his time. He was kind of in the show.
Was it Paul Williams as himself?
Or? Yeah, no, it was Paul. Essentially, it's Paul. He's designed to look like a cutesy kind of like cartoon version. So he's basically slightly taller than Dexter, slightly. And he is he's Professor Williams. So he is essentially Paul Williams. It doesn't say he's not.
That's funny.
Anyway, okay, so they've done some really great parodies, two of which that come to mind are the Mach 5, which is a full-on Speed Racer homage, like verbatim. It's like completely random, like everyone's just in the role of Speed Racer characters. They do the dub and everything just like Speed Racer. It's priceless.
And everyone's talking extremely quickly.
Uh-huh.
Like, we got a race. Oh!
Like Dexter's dad is like the Speed Racer dad. Dee Dee. So Jacob, the best gag in this is like Dee Dee.
I need to get to this one.
Is Dee Dee's like Racer X? So
I think I remember seeing this episode when I was younger. Actually,
so I think so. Dee Dee's like the Racer X character. So the idea is like in this case Racer D. So. Dexter's father is basically like, since your sister had that wreck, and this whole time, Dee Dee's like the one like saying, "Dad, I'm right here." This is like I can hear her. She's somewhere. He's like just completely oblivious to the fact that she's completely fine. She's right there, but he thinks like, we never saw her again.
He's like, "I'm right here."
Just great.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I think I remember that episode when I was younger, but the details are fuzzy.
Okay, but hands down, the parody episode. The parody episode. It's photo finish.
The Bond episode.
I love photo finish.
It really, if you look at it, it makes no sense.
I had such a big smile, like I was grinning ear to ear watching this. It was the coolest thing. Again, I love the gadgetry. I love the fact that he's driving. He's kind of in the car. He has a driver for the car, and yet he's like in the
the car is basically a cross between Aston Martins and Knight Rider.
Yep. And it's the fact that he launches into like the seat of the car, and he has this beautiful, this stunningly gorgeous Russian or Eastern European, this Russian Katka, just as like the incredibly sexy limo driver.
Basically, she kind of reminded me of Mercy Graves almost.
Very much like Mercy.
Yep, like the legs and all.
She looks like a Maxwell Adams character, and I love it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so she's and the fact they're speaking very fluent Russian, or maybe like a cartoon equivalent to the fluent Russian about the situation.
Considering Genndy, I'm sure it's probably fluent Russian.
Well, that's true, but I'm saying Genndy was always pleased. Here's the thing: Genndy never wanted to confirm what Dexter's accent was, so there's a chance it might not actually be Russian. Given it's Katka, I would imagine. Okay, there's a good chance that it probably is Russian because it's Russian, ballet.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It would make sense.
Anyway, just the fact that the mundane premise is that Dexter goes up to like the photo mat guy, and is like, "Yes, can I get the film that he just took in?" Like, nope, it's going to the lab to be developed.
And then like it tracks it, and it turns out to be this like huge facility.
Yep.
It's like the episode really makes no sense if you just think about it. They're like, describe the plot to someone, it makes no freaking sense.
And then we have like essentially he's not even the big. You imagine he would be the big bag, kind of our Ernst Blofeld kind of type guy who has like the Mr. Red Eye. You know, we have Mr. Red Eye. You know, with Jim Cummings is Mr. Red Eye, by the way. No, Dexter, I expect you to smile. But that's the thing. Just they have this whole thing, and he's not even the big boss. Is the photomat guy?
Yep, that was a twist ending.
Yep, and just also again, I love like the staging of action there, like the photographs, like he's getting into the fight with like Cindy. You're not Cindy.
And not the fact that Cindy tried to blackmail him, or tried to like, not blackmail him, but stop him earlier. But as she was taking the pictures, you could see his action through the printed photos.
Yeah, this is gonna sound really weird and out of context will sound horrible, but I appreciate that we kind of had and we get away with it because he's a kid, but we had violence against women in this show, which is you don't often get.
Yep.
I'm not championing it. I'm just want to make a note of it that think about it. He's fighting he's knocking out Cindy, and then he's fighting like the Star Trek parody episode. He's knocking out like the giant like hulking woman at the convention.
Yeah, at least it's inclusive.
That's what I'm saying. It's equal opportunity violence, which I'm down for.
Yeah, but like if they're trying to attack him, I say go for it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the only time it's acceptable, obviously.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's really a time it's acceptable to hit anyone, not just women, but you get the idea.
Yeah. Anyway, so again, so real quick, we already talked about the ice cream episode.
But like the ending of that episode, when after all that trouble Dexter went through to like save the photos of his lab and all that, turns out Dee Dee just had her hands over the lens the whole time.
Yep, it's the terrible camera operator.
Yep.
All right, so critical gas is Genndy Tartakovsky's answer. What is the most artful way I can do a fart joke?
You know what the funny thing is?
What?
Craig McCracken kind of later do the same thing with Wonder Over Yonder years later.
Oh God!
But not with a fart joke.
Well, that's the thing. So basically, Dexter he eats.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
There's an episode well, basically it's like, what's the classiest way I can do poop humor? and the episode's hilarious.
I believe it.
It's like, dude, seriously, watch Wander Over Yonder. It's great.
Anyway.
But yeah, I didn't get to critical gas.
Critical gas is a great premise. It's basically Dexter eats a burrito, which Genndy loves burritos. Well, growing up, he loved burritos. Anyway, so the fact is, the fact that he eats this giant burrito, and he's getting like it's digesting, and but he does. Dexter thinks that he only has like 24 hours to live.
He thinks he's gonna die.
It was a giant burrito, Jacob.
I mean, we've all been there, right?
It was a We Bare Bears sized burrito.
Oh God, that's a big burrito.
Right, or at least it was either that or like the warm up for the We Bare Bears burrito. It was that big.
Like the one that Grizz ate?
Yes.
Or the one didn't want to eat, I mean?
Yes.
But my point is that, like, we've all been in a situation where you have indigestion. It's like, oh, like the first time you experience indigestion, like, It's like, oh, I'm gonna die.
So basically, he's like crossing out. He's basically doing his last will and testament the whole day. He's like fulfilling, like he's taking care of all his final bits of business.
Yep, including like world peace.
Yep, including world peace, and we do a nod to the Christmas story. Make mom happy, like goes around in the bunny suit. Make dad happy, and builds him a bowling alley.
All in 30 minutes.
Yep, Dee Dee gets the lab.
Oh God.
So yeah, and ultimately, just for the payoff being, he's about to tell his parents about the lab, and right as he does it, you think he's run out of time, and then we have like an earth-shattering, fart that basically destroys the TV behind him. It's like that's literally the most operatic way you could do a fart joke. Only Genndy Tartakovsky could pull that off.
The atomic fart.
Yes. Rushmore Rumble, Seth MacFarlane episode. This was the big the dueling presidents from Rushmore.
Was that actually? I don't remember if I saw Seth MacFarlane's name in this one.
Yeah. He wrote or boarded. I think he wrote it.
Yep, Seth MacFarlane worked on a couple episodes of Dexter. I think he was more famous. I think he was more famous for his work on Johnny Bravo, though.
Well, absolutely, but I'm saying like pre-Johnny, this gets him Johnny Bravo though.
Yeah, but I think Seth MacFarlane and Butch Hartman became better known for Johnny Bravo than their work here.
True.
But they both got their starts here.
Yep. Let's see. So again, just the dueling, dueling Lincoln and George Washington was always like a very memorable fight, and the fact that they befriended each other at the end was just
It's just like the guy with the kid Timmy was worried about like two geniuses turning into like giant fighting robots.
Now that feels like a McFarlane joke to me.
And then at the end,
Ah!
like the scream went on a bit long, I'll admit, but yeah, I mean, I'd be kind of freaked out too if giant stone versions of Abraham Lincoln and George Washington were walking down the street.
It's not even that though. It's the fact that this kid had a paralyzing fear of that happening. He knew that was going to happen. Everyone's saying, "Oh no, it's not going to happen." So literally, his fear came true. So that's a justified scream.
It was, yeah.
So imagine your worst nightmare, like imagine like your Stay Puft Marshmallow Man dream coming true. You know?
Yep. Instead of Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, it's two giant stone presidents.
Yeah, it's not tasty at all.
No.
Okay, one last one we should talk about, and then we get into the big stuff, and then we gotta wrap up. The Laughing. The Laughing is an episode where basically it's a werewolf story with a clown. Dexter is bitten by a party clown.
I didn't watch that one.
And he basically turns into turns into the Joker.
That sounds funny.
I'm exaggerating with that, but essentially a clown monster.
That sounds funny.
Oh, well, literally, yeah.
I mean, like I said, that's one I unfortunately didn't get to. I mean, trust me, I wish I did, but
I gotta be honest. Might be one for Haunted Holiday Hijinks. I'm not gonna, maybe.
Let's just say I was limited on my time to watch some of these episodes. Dragon provided me a priority list.
Yep. All right. Okay. So, last but not least, this was essentially intended to be the finale to the show.
Did we talk about libretto a bit, or did we talk about it enough?
I know we did, but I mean, if you want to talk about it more, by all means, let's talk about libretto.
I mean, it's like there are a lot of episodes that are like it's like 7 minutes, but this is like one that was like one of the 11-minute episodes.
Yeah.
I mean, there was and that episode is like, I mean, I can't really say more than we've already discussed. It was like this basically Dexter retelling of Dexter's origins in opera form.
So the fact that just to signify he's intelligent, we give him the glasses.
Yep, it's like these glasses. Basically a sign of his birth. Like, egad, my son's head. Will I have he's just pacing back and forth thinking about, will I have a daughter or a son? While mom's just giving birth.
I love that she's basically harmonizing with the Lamaze breathes.
I mean, it's hilarious. Remember your breathing. Yeah. It was a lot of fun. And of course, as we mentioned before, it actually ends like an opera, very sad, with Dexter lamenting his tragic existence.
Yep.
He must build, he must work, but he must also have Dee Dee in his life. But as you mentioned, last but not beast.
Yeah. Last but not least, this is this is kind of like a loving homage to a lot of stuff, including like Godzilla and Voltron and all that. But it's basically this big, it's an extended episode. It is very basically if we never saw any more Dexter, this would have actually been a really good way to go out. Just the idea that Dexter goes to Japan in a foreign exchange program. He showing off, by accident he incurs the wrath of unleashing the volcano monster, which is this awesome looking kaiju with like an axe face and like axe blades everywhere.
Bad extra.
Yeah.
I think that's the name, right?
Which bad extra, yeah. Which of course is a very. I'm glad we slipped it past the censors.
Bad extra. Yep.
Anyway, so point being, it's like to do this Voltron thing, because after the Robodex 2000 gets taken out, he needs needs Plan B, which requires multiple pilots, so he needs the whole family.
Yep. Which leads to him telling his parents about the lab.
which is a huge moment you can only really get away with proper in the last episode.
Which he probably undoes after we have to talk about the lab, son. Then he promptly wipes their memory. Which makes you wonder, why did he make a big deal? Like, well, I could just erase their memory later, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Dragon, am I wrong?
Well, yeah, you can always just erase the memory. So they could have found out many times before. I mean, they've kind of been on to it occasionally, but you know.
Yeah, but so it's like, so they make a big deal out of them discovering the lab and all that, but then he just erases their memory, like, and then Monkey, we get a crossover between Monkey and the Justice Friends in this episode too.
Yep. Because no one can stop this thing until basically Monkey supercharges the Dexter family of Voltron.
Go Dexter family, go!
Which is insanely catchy.
It is. Like Dee Dee wants to be the legs. And then Dad wants to be the head. I'm the head of the household, but I want to be the head. All right. But then Monkey erases. Dexter realizes that Monkey is Monkey. Right?
Yeah.
And then erases his memory. And who gets credit for saving the world?
Mandark, and poor Dexter is like, oh, I wanted to save the world.
And Dee Dee doesn't even say anything. She just shrugs at the screen.
Mm-hmm.
And waves. And thus ending the original run of Dexter's Laboratory.
But thankfully, Tartakovsky came back for one more. He had one last ride in him, which is Ego Trip.
Jinx.
Give me a root beer.
You give me the root beer.
Well, no, you said, it's.
I said, I called Jinx on you. That means you give me the root beer.
All right, fine. Take the root beer.
All right, thanks.
There you go.
I'll put it in a bucket of ice and chill it while we wait.
Anyway, so yeah, this was a 50-minute episode. This was an event. I remember being hyped up on Cartoon Network when it aired. It was again the fact that it's kind of Dexter going through time. It's this time travel event that actually tracks logically, which is really hard to do in animation. Believe it or not, there's a lot of times you're going to make all sorts of leaps in any time travel story. But this one actually. Yeah, we have a paradox that basically forms by the end of it, and the paradox actually works.
And a stable time loop, as it's called.
Okay.
I mean, where we realize basically Dexter caused this whole thing to happen,
mm-hmm.
And then we see he basically creates the loop as it goes forward.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that later. So Dexter. So we begin with Mandark trying to steal. Well, what's the name of it again? It's the. Do you know the name of the thing he's trying to steal?
Yes, I believe it's the neuroatomic protocore.
Oh yeah, that's it. The
basically it's this kind of atom-looking thing. The neuroatomic protocore. And overall, the anime, I love. Basically, it's kind of Genndy. It's Dexter's lab with a little bit of a bigger budget, and not a huge budget, but just a little bit more for a TV movie. And it does bring about memories of Phantasm. It's kind of Dexter with a Phantasm-esque kind of budget. It's coming back in a big way for a very concentrated story. So it's very much Gendy's final warm-up before Samurai Jack. It feels like, and it really shows.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely his a way to show you he can do more dramatic storytelling.
Yeah, we have 4 eras of Dexter,
Yep, and time travel, obviously.
And Kavanaugh won an Emmy for this, by the way, an Annie for this. Sorry, an Annie. She won the award for this one.
I mean, she played 3 different versions of Dexter, so it makes sense.
Oh yeah. Of course, though, she did not voice the coolest version of Dexter, which was adult Dexter, which is Jeff Bennett. The moment I heard Jeff Bennett basically doing Schwarzenegger as Dexter, it's just oh my god, that is the coolest. Kind of it has to be Schwarzenegger because of Conan, so it makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah, kinda.
Anyway, so then all the versions of Mandark and
too bad they couldn't get Mako for this one.
Yeah, it's a shame. Would have been really
But
funny if if one of the older versions of Mandark was actually Mako, but it wouldn't have made any sense.
no. Why Mako? Why Mandark would suddenly be voiced by an early Japanese man?
Yeah, it just wouldn't attract. But anyway,
but Tartakovsky didn't let Mako go to waste.
no, we didn't. But again, I love like going through time. We have like the one kind of the the office work in kind of the Jetsons era. Dexter and ends up kind of toughing up and like kicking the crap out of like a Mandark to get his glasses back.
Yeah, I mean, at first it's just like this Dexter who just like this entirely like wimpy adult Dexter who's working for Mandark, and then when he steps on the glasses, it's basically like the opposite of King Arthur from that episode of Fairly Odd Parents.
Yeah,
Like where it's like, I can see, I can fight. In this case, like when that happens, when the glasses are stepped on, he like gets buff and immediately defeats Mandark.
yeah. Well, he took enough. He took a lot. Literally, we saw him take a lot of Mandark's abuse. Like he was a little whipping boy for him.
Yeah, because he was almost late to work. Not even late to work, almost late.
God, it's everyone's office nightmare. Just like, oh God, just the presumption of it's not good enough.
Yeah, and of course, who wants a boss like Mandark?
So again, the whole thing being just in service of Dexter's ego, it is really kind of neat to see where Dexter's intelligence does get recognized in the future. It does build a utopia because of that core. But again, in him visiting himself, this very egotistical trip of self reassurance, and again the whole causal loop thing is the fact that like his ego, if he has to be the one to save the day, and that's why he sends the robots back, and he wants to see himself in the future. That's what starts this whole thing. Just his ego again, has always been a defining trait of Dexter. So, as like a last kind of statement on the character, it does feel like he's awesome. You like him, you root for him, but that ego is always gonna like that. That's why he's kind of the glutton for punishment that he is at the end of the day. That's the moral at the end.
And not to mention the reason why he sent the robots back in the first place.
Because Dee Dee, again, I love that Dee Dee is barely in this, but Dee Dee's one role is very pivotal. She pushes the button that saves the day, takes the victory away from Dexter.
And nobody would have known except for Dexter.
Yep.
And then so he sent, what does he send the robots back to do? To destroy Dee Dee. That's why he sends the robots back. He wanted to kill her, basically. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, did you get that too?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I mean, he tried to kill Dee Dee, yeah.
Yeah, that's why he sent the robots back. He was to kill his own sister.
Well, to be fair, she's kind of had it coming for a long time in his view.
Yeah, but it's still kind of unjustified in this case.
I mean, Jacob, she's destroyed his lab constantly.
Yeah, but
for no good reason.
She also saved the world in this case, though.
Yeah, I mean, he was going to push the button, though. He was reaching for it. Eventually, he would have done it. She took that away from him, so she had,
So you're saying it was a good idea? It was justified of him to send back robots to kill her?
I mean, a guy can only be pushed so much, Jacob.
Well,
I'm not saying she deserves that. Hello?
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, hello, police. Just kidding.
Well, I'm just saying, look, it tracks with what he's been through. That's all I'm saying.
But it's the ego of him. Like he needs to be the one to save the day, not Dee Dee.
And that's the appropriate moral where Dexter can never escape that causal loop with his sister because he can't escape the causal loop of himself.
Yep. Basically, that causes him to send the robots back, creating the time loop, creating the whole situation in the first place.
It's a great little TV movie, man. It's everything you'd want. And like, we have an ending, and then we have like kind of like a theatrical ending. Or the closest thing we're ever going to get to the Dexter's Lab movie. At least we have something, so it ends strong with the ego trip,
Well, and I do love that. I do love the robot that four Dexters make, though.
Oh, it's so cool. It has,
and then I think my favorite part was when like it tore off the legs, but then like the second pair of arms like slid down to get the extra pair of legs.
I know I love that so much.
I was like, that's such a neat little. I was like, oh, that's cool.
Yes. God.
I was like, they don't
design robots like that anymore, man.
Nope, that's like like retro-futuristic kind of thing.
Yes.
That's like what people in the 50s imagined robots would be like.
Why can't Genndy be in charge of the robotics programs?
Like, well, let's
Or
like I
Genndy or
said,
his crew or whoever.
well, I think let's just put Genndy in charge of Cartoon Network.
Well, yeah.
I know
Anyway,
he probably wouldn't do that though. He likes to work on his own stuff.
so speaking of which, so I guess just to kind of acknowledge it for posterity's sake. So, eventually Genndy, he moved on to bigger and better things, and also helped out Craig on the Powerpuff Girls.
He directed a lot of the Powerpuff Girls, like mainly like in the first season, I believe. And he obviously created Samurai Jack and Star Wars: The Clone Wars, or just not Star Wars: The Clone Wars, just Star Wars: Clone Wars.
And Genndy's pals, his Hanna-Barbera buddies, one could say. They all moved on to prominence. They were kind of cursed with success in a really in a good way, and they kind of moved on, and they kind of flew the nest, leaving Chris Savino as the only one to really captain the ship when Cartoon Network's coming back saying, "Hey, we loved Ego Trip, do more." And you guys, seriously, I want to be clear. Dexter was never canceled. Dexter was just on hiatus, and it was Genndy's decision. So, the thing of Genndy had an ending, but there was always an opening to return should he wanted to. But again, he had other projects in mind.
He basically said all he wanted, did all he wanted to do with Dexter.
Yeah, which then kind of led to Savino kind of taking the reins. And I feel that Savino, here's the thing, people have a lot of opinions about Savino, whether you like the Loud House or not. That's not really my point here. The fact is, Savino has a very different style than Tartakovsky does now.
And I do like the Loud House, though.
Well, sure, okay.
But
my point being, notwithstanding how anyone feels about Chris Savino creatively or just, other things, is the fact that Savino, he has a very different approach with Dexter, which again, he's worked on the show, so he knows how the show essentially goes. But again, Genndy was highly involved. He pretty much, essentially, Genndy directed almost all the episodes of Dexter's Lab. Not every episode, but he directed a very large majority, or at the very least had involvement in every episode and probably oversight over every episode. So taking him out of the equation, the guy put his heart, blood, sweat, and tears into the thing. Savino just didn't have the magic of the timing and the execution that Genndy did, and that shows, and that makes it not a bad product, but it makes it lesser by comparison of all the joy and happiness we've been kind of reminiscing on here.
So basically, it's not bad, but just bad in comparison.
Exactly. In comparison, it's like the Mona Lisa versus Motel art, but that's only by comparison.
Yeah, and I think the animation I think the characters were redesigned because he wanted to make it more of a throwback to Hanna-Barbera style.
Well, that I'm not entirely sure how much of that part might be true.
And to also make it a bit cleaner for digital ink and paint animation.
That's what I was leaning more towards, where it basically, at this point in time, going into the 2000s, a lot of shows were doing this. And honestly, in general, with revamps in general, that is the main reason you revamp, to make it easier on the process of animation, which, look, the best example I could give you, Batman the Animated Series to the new Batman Adventures. They streamlined and revamped the design. They revamped the designs to streamline the animation process to make it, to help them do more amazing, impressive things in the animation, also help it jive with the other universe they were kind of in the midst of building with Superman the Animated Series and eventually Justice League. So they required a redesign because Batman the Animated Series, again, kind of like the original Dexter's Lab, work of art in terms of every episode was like a mini movie. It counted. It was very much, but kind of the sequel installments with villains, particularly characters like Clayface, were really difficult. Because they had very intricate designs and you had many different studios and all this kind of stuff to factor in.
Hey, and at the time, not to mention Tartakovsky didn't even get to see the finished episodes of Dexter until they aired on TV. So he was a workaholic.
Oh yeah, I think the main difference between something like how the revamp on the new Batman Adventures went and Dexter went is that The new Batman Adventures still had we had our writers and we had the same creatives on there, and mainly in the writing. Like Dini was writing episodes. We had Bob Goodman writing episodes. We had really crack writers on there, and they were still in the voice of the show, and it very much felt like a carryover. Okay, a little time has passed. We have a new Robin. Things are like progressing forward, so we want to reflect that in the grand scheme of Batman in the DCAU. You have that reflected in 3 eras of Batman, 4 if you count Justice League, but point withstanding, there's a major style shift each time we do that. To the landscape of Batman Beyond to New Batman Adventures and classic Batman. Anyway, so the point being that there's a universe to justify a change in look. Dexter, it felt really kind of, I don't know if abrupt's the right word, but it felt very kind of maybe sudden. It just kind of like it just kind of was sprung on us. Like, hey, you like the Ego Trip? New Dexter. Okay, well, I mean it's all.
I mean, if you're binging it, then going from that to the sudden new designs would be kind of jarring.
Let me put it to you this way, Jacob. The original show, there were actually a few redesigns on all the characters.
I mean, I saw changes, and like I said, that episode looked like. I mean, don't get me wrong, the show had good animation, but it was that was much more fluid and like rubber hosey than the rest of the show was.
That's the thing. There's roughly 3 kind of not even redesigns, but just kind of like punch ups for the design look. Where you have the pilot, which again, like the first 4 episodes, it's very rubbery. Season 1 is kind of like a little more refined. Season 2 is the sweet spot. Season 2 is when this is how everyone really should look. At the very least, I'm saying it's the same look, obviously, between 1 and 2, but basically season 2 is more. Yep.
The animation is more limited, but it also makes it bit more expressive and animatable, if that makes sense.
Exactly. And then they kind of had like the Phantasm kind of perfected kind of like feature kind of quality. There's a very subtle redesign on Ego Trip, just to have it kind of animate more towards something a little more feature like. But yeah, and then we get this redesign. Everything's just simplified to the point where we kind of lose the charm of character in places. And it's just the exact. For example, I will give them this: the redesign on Dexter, we see it marketed all the time. Not my favorite, but I mean, look, it's easier to make toys and like put on posters and do all this stuff. It's easier to, as well as probably animate. But I don't know. It's easier to animate if we're working more within the Hanna-Barbera limitations, if we're intentionally doing that or not. And if we're not, again, it just feels like it's kind of like the sad kind of reality of like when we do digital transfer, we do the digital ink and paint, where it's like it's kind of a cost-effective thing. We can't do the intricate interior of the house. We got to go more impressionistic with it,
Yep.
But I mean, even beyond that, from the writing just kind of suffered. We had the same directors coming back, but our writers, it was a little different. We barely any of our writers, came back, and in doing so, at least our lead writers, who really had the voice of the show down. And we have episodes like Dexter's dad golfing, or let me put it this way. I would say at best we had a handful of good episodes, like maybe 10 episodes tops. Of 10 segments tops of all the stuff they did were like genuinely either good or like this is better than everything else they did. But if I were doing a rewatch, man, I'd be skipping episodes in the revamp season. But again, only by comparison. Again, on its own, it's like these are Dexter premises, but it's just the execution's all off, and you can know that if you're watching comparing and contrasting the two. It's like watching them back to back. Like, okay, there's Dim, and there's like I always go to this one first because I think it was like the premiere. I remember the premiere of this Streaky Clean. There's nothing against Streaky Clean. Streaky Clean's a good premise, but it's like I don't know.
Didn't they also get him to work on the revival of the continuation of Powerpuff Girls after Craig went on to Foster's?
That is true. Yes, that is also accurate.
He seemed like the go-to for like continuing these things.
I was gonna say he was the go-to, and I mean, I have a sense like Savino was reliable in the industry, but I feel like Savino I haven't watched the show, but it feels like until Savino got his own like original show with the Loud House, it feels like he's very much just trying to. He's like captaining the ship while the captain's away. It's very much kind of like he was in keeping with Styles, but I don't think he really brought anything to the table until the Loud House.
Obviously, he worked on other shows in the meantime afterwards, but I think he just worked as a director, not necessarily like a showrunner like he did for those.
Yeah. Anyway, So it's to round things out, not end on kind of a negative note. I don't mean that. I want to be clear. Streaky Clean was one of the good episodes. That's what I'm saying. Just the episodes that didn't wow me, I just have trouble like bringing to mind the specifics on them.
And Dragon didn't even have me watch any of the revival ones.
Yeah.
And we should also. I mean, did you watch Rude? Have you watched Rude Removal at all?
I have watched Rude Removal.
All right, and I actually didn't get to it, but I actually haven't gotten to it yet.
So that's to round things out. The two things we can talk about. So Rude Removal is, I've watched it. I know a lot of people are obsessed with it. I'm not, because at the end of the day, and this is just a me thing. It's not. At the end of the day, I don't like him being mean to Dexter's mom, and they really are in that short. That's ultimately what it is. Where I feel really bad for her.
I mean, it's just the rude versions of.
No, I know. It's just I know. It's just compared. Plus, the fact it's like I don't know. It just feels the whole episode just feels off and just feels like not in the style of just kind of the show. Despite like it's actually, I know it's actually kind of the OG just kind of version of the show, but I don't know. It just feels it's okay. It's nothing wrong with it, but it just doesn't feel as like monolithic as the other ones. It feels just like kind of like an addendum. Like this is like it feels like a banned episode for a reason. It feels like they had no prayer of actually getting this thing on the air. And you can see it. It doesn't feel like they're taking it seriously. It just feels like, they did it for a lark. And, that's as much as I can really take it as at face value. It's like, it's Dexter and Dee Dee cursing. That's pretty much it. It's not really a lot of charm there. It's not really a lot of like,
Yeah.
It's not as clever and ingenious as the other stuff. It just feels like it's for shock value. And look, nothing against it. I'm glad it definitely kept Dexter on people's minds after the show wrapped. So that was the big takeaways that people were talking about original Dexter,
Yep.
Anyway, so Tartakovsky did return to Dexter one last time. That was Chicken Scratch, the short before the Powerpuff Girls movie. Dexter can. So again, it's kind of nice to see Tartakovsky kind of return to the character, even if it isn't the revamp style. But it was. But here's the thing, though. Genndy getting an opportunity to take Dexter literally to the big screen. Again, we had it on the small screen at the TV movie, which essentially is like a movie. But for one brief moment, he took Dexter from the small screen to the big screen.
I can only imagine if he was able to do that with Samurai Jack.
Oh, dear God, if only.
Yeah, there was talks about it potentially happening.
Mm-hmm.
Like he could have done it with Sony Animation doing the animation, but ultimately we did get the 5th season out of it, so
yeah, man, at least it worked out somewhat,
Yeah, but the 5th season was great, so
yeah, man, I love the 5th season.
Yeah, me too.
Anyway, so
that's a revival that he actually got to be involved with.
Well, yeah, had he not been, it would have been like a travesty.
Yep, and can you imagine season 5 of Samurai Jack without Tartakovsky there?
Why give the kids nightmares, Jacob?
It's like, I'm just saying, can you imagine?
No, I can't imagine.
I mean, Dragon, that season already gave people nightmares.
Well, yeah.
I mean, the first episode alone had like demonic entities based on his parents. Like, why have you abandoned us? Like it's already giving people nightmares.
Oh yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
So we should round things out, Jacob.
Yep. So Dexter's Laboratory was you can even say it was ahead of its time.
Well, yeah.
So, I mean, what can we say? I mean, we've talked about it for almost 2.5 hours here. So, it was a show that was ahead of its time and still somehow feels timeless. It's kind of a rare achievement, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. Again, it's quite possibly Genndy Tartakovsky's greatest invention. One of his greatest inventions. The show that again inspired the medium and just kind of gave us so many. Again, gives the creators that went on to do some of the most revolutionary stuff on Cartoon Network their start and just kind of like led the way, it led the charge, and again, like it was like essentially it was the fire. It was like the creation of fire in animated form for animators.
He was the Prometheus.
Exactly.
Except thankfully he didn't get his liver eaten by an eagle every day.
Well, yeah, but regardless, it's the fact that Dexter Dexter's Lab is a personal project for him. Now, clearly, anyone can make the argument that he's surpassed it with stuff like what he's doing now with Primal or Samurai Jack or what have you. But Dexter still, it is special. It is like he put his heart and soul into that. He put everything he could into that show, and it is demonstrated every time you watch. And the fact that we can go back to it nostalgically, just like be entertained for how many hours you want to give in a rewatch. It is.
And he's still proud of it to this day. He doesn't plan on revisiting anytime soon. But
Yeah, which is right. He's leaving it where the Genndy left. I love that Genndy left on his own terms. It's like I'm doing my own stuff. And he's like said, like, I don't really have anything else to revisit there. Where Kavanaugh is not around anymore. Is like, what's the point? It's like I already said everything I need to with Dexter, and he doesn't need to revisit it. But the fact that it's there and we can appreciate it is we could appreciate in a wider sense, but let's not go there. The point being, though, the fact that it has gotten like that DVD release, that so people could buy this thing, they could own this, they could.
And unfortunately, it's been removed from Max.
Yes. Basically, I'd like to think Dexter would just march into Zaslav's office and say, "You are stupid."
Yeah, or better yet, you are fired.
Yep, you're fired. Again, just Dexter. He taught us a lot of things through the magic of science, but the Dee Dee, she kind of taught us a lot of things through the majesty of art, and the two of them in
and the art of destruction.
The art of destruction, absolutely. So it's their shenanigans. They've entertained us for many years, and hopefully we'll entertain a generation that happens upon the old shenanigans of Dexter's Lab, which still hold up and still make us want to push all the buttons.
Even 30 years later.
30 years later.
Hard to believe, huh, Dragon?
Yep.
All right. I think that's a good note to close out on. What do you think?
Let's do it.
All right, thank you, Theme Park Priest. You're the only comment here, but you said laboratory. So, good night, folks. And see y'all next time.
Get out of my laboratory!